I am so excited to have this conversation with you, Dave.
I'm excited to have this conversation every single day with every person that wants to have it.
This
So
is
thank
just
you.
such an interesting topic, and I've talked about so many out-of-the-box ideas with people on the show over the course of the past 8 years. And this has been one that I've not talked about for a number of reasons. One is I haven't had what I feel like is the right person to be able to frame it in a way that is digestible and that, you know, has the data to kind of back it up. And the other is, if I'm being really honest, is like, oh man, do I really want to get this out there, you know, in terms of just stretching my capacity of open-mindedness. But I know when I'm kind of nervous about something, it means I'm supposed to do it. And so I'm so glad that it just worked out that you're here in town doing all these other, you know, the Roseanne show you just finished, which I can't wait to hear. But I want to start with this. Where I'm coming from to frame this conversation is realizing really since about 9/11 that so many things about the nature of our reality have been foisted upon us in absolute abject falsehood and lies. And so when I started uncovering the things about which we've been lied to, which are revealing more and more now, we're kind of in this exponential revelation where we're just saying, oh, they lied about that, they lied about this, lied about that. When I first started hearing about the different concepts around the shape of the earth, I thought, well, if they've lied about everything else, why wouldn't they be lying about that? But then I think for a few years there, it was like, well, I mean, what would be the purpose of them lying about that? What do they have to gain? And so that kind of just dropped my interest in the topic, you know, because I'm like, they're not getting anything out of tricking us all about the shape of the earth. And then I realized, well, if they were going to lie about it, which you'll help explain if they have, it would make sense if the idea is to control the human collective psyche, that if they could confuse us about the nature of our home where we live from the moment we're born and get us to fall for the deception that contradicts what our very senses tell us, that they can lie to us about anything for the rest of our lives and we'll accept it because we've gone against our true nature. So when I started looking at it like that, if it is a lie, what's the purpose? And if that is the purpose, that's a very effective way to dupe the entire population.
We all have the exact same story. First, you hear about this and you say, nope, I'm not going to look. It's stupid. I have an open mind. I was doing a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. Episode 1 was titled 9/11 is Dave's Baby. And we looked into everything. And people, you know, some people get offended or rejected, and some other people are like, wow, I totally get it now. But then when Flat Earth was brought up to me, I just rejected it immediately. I said, this is stupid. And people kept coming at me with it. And so I came up with the term ban for life. Ban for life. You're no longer allowed to comment. And I wish you wouldn't watch our podcast anymore because you're too stupid. That was my attitude. And, you know, people they would come at me with, Dave, everything can't be a conspiracy. Tell me one thing that's real. I said, Sully landed the plane on the Hudson River. And then I found out that wasn't real. Okay. That's all I had. So when people say almost everything's fake, they're wrong. Everything's fake. I mean, yes, you gave me a cup of tea and here it is. I think this is real. I'm pretty sure. I can measure it. I can taste it. But there's so much fakeness in this world. And any smart person, when you start dismantling their global beliefs, which is really easy to do if they're willing to listen, you know, boats over the horizon, sunsets, seasons, day and night, and all of that stuff, they scatter. They go from, okay, the boats over the horizon, that's debunked. Well, sunsets, oh, all right, that's debunked. All right, seasons, and they just jump, and then they go to, what difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday.
Right.
I said it. What difference does it make? What difference does the shape of the world make? It's triangle, square, circle, sphere, right? And I say it doesn't matter. The shape doesn't matter. It's your position in it and the true nature of who you are. And all of the lies, we'll find out as we go through this, all of the major lies and deceptions and everything are rooted on the globe lie. Without the globe lie, everything falls apart. Everything falls apart, right? Truth is truth, whether you believe it or not. A lie can only live in your head, right? A lie, you have to have it in your head. You have to think about it, and you have to perpetrate it, right? The truth is the truth. A lie is a construct.
Well, what led me into my curiosity around this topic was, again, just understanding that 2 planes didn't make 3 buildings fall down.
Right.
Just basic fun. I think, here's what it was for me, actually. I remember the moment when YouTube had maybe first come out or been new. It was a little bit after 9/11. I was over at a friend's house in LA, and he said, "Hey, man, did you see the plane hit the Pentagon?" And I said, "Yeah, that was crazy." He goes, "How do you know?" And I said, "Well, I saw it on the news." He goes, "You saw a plane hit the Pentagon?" I said, "Yeah, man. I mean, everyone knows, duh." And then he showed me this little 8-minute video that unequivocally proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that there was no plane ever present at that building at that time, right? There's no remnants of a plane. There's no evidence of a plane. That was the beginning for me when I thought, okay. And anyway, that all unraveled, but to the point of the shape of the earth and cosmology, what kind of led me into my curiosity is when I started watching these documentaries about the supposed moon landings and about all the shenanigans that NASA has been up to, and looking at Elon Musk's fake X with the Tesla floating in space, and the Challenger situation, which I remember being a kid. They wheeled in TVs to every classroom, right? And you're like, oh my God, it was like this mass
trauma-based mind control.
Trauma-based mind control, right? And you come to find out 7 or 8 of those people just happen to have twins that are still alive.
Same name, same birthmark, same everything, same face, same voice.
So in terms of cosmology, space travel, the shape of the earth, to me, the elephants in the room that first appeared were all of the NASA shenanigans, the moon landings, and the space shuttle, the Challenger, that are so easy to debunk that it's once you see it, you can't unsee it, and just becomes so silly. So then it led me to, okay, why would they perpetrate such an a sophisticated lie? And then when I found out about this idea of flat Earth, it was well, how could in the big rebuttal I have against it's how could they get this many people to be in on the lie and not someone leak it out?
Well, plenty have leaked it out. Astronauts have leaked it out. Admiral Byrd leaked it out. There's been many whistleblowers, but the mainstream isn't going to carry it, and they're going to discredit them, and they're going to Admiral Byrd talked about more land beyond the South Pole, bigger than America, filled with resources that no one has ever set eyes upon. 6 months later, he died suddenly in his sleep. Weird, right? It's strange.
Oh, that was the other one, and then I'll let you get into it. The other one is we're supposedly, as countries, we have these adversary relationships and world wars, and we each have our own military, and this country hates that country. And somehow we all managed to agree that no one's allowed to explore Antarctica, the Antarctic Treaty. That is very suspect to me.
So all the countries are at war, fighting over resources, fighting over land, can't agree on anything, but there's 2 things that they all agree upon. Nobody can independently explore the outer lands of Antarctica, and virtually or physically, because Google Earth won't even let you do it. And everybody has to get that poke in the shoulder. They all agree on those 2 things.
Right.
What's going on there?
Right.
Right. Why do all of the heads of state and everywhere go to Antarctica at the weirdest times and then disappear for 2 or 3 days, then show back up at the base and then fly home? Where are they going? What are they doing? What's going on out there?
And why aren't we allowed to go there?
The penguins in the ice. It's the only place that
that one little
ice.
peninsula. Yeah. I have friends that I've asked about this, and they're like, what? I went to Antarctica. I'm like, that's what you think. How do you know where you are when you're on a boat? And they're like, hey, you're at Antarctica.
You went out to that peninsula, which is 1,000 miles from Antarctica. You went onto an island that's off of that peninsula, and they tell you you're in Antarctica. You know what the name of the island is? Deception Island, or
what?
Rothschild Island.
Are you serious?
Those are the 2 islands that they take you to.
Oh, is that real?
That's real.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It gets crazier and crazier and crazier when you look into this. Here's just jumping forward a little bit. All flat earthers have the same Same story. We didn't believe it at first. We refused to look. Then we looked. Then we're like, oh my God. And then we all say, how did I ever believe in the globe? Right? Flat earthers can steel man the globe better than a globe defender can. So there's people, that are clinging to their ball like a child, and they don't want to let it go. And they're like, no, the earth is not flat. It's a globe. I'm like, okay, what's the circumference of the earth at the equator? How fast is it spinning? How fast is it orbiting? How far is it from the sun? How did they determine how far the sun is? How big is the sun? How far is the moon? They don't know any of those answers, but they still defend their childhood indoctrinated belief. Well, can all the teachers and scientists be in on it? No. The way you become a teacher is you memorize and regurgitate the Rockefeller funded textbooks. You do get straight A's. Now you can teach the next generation. And if you go for a higher degree and regurgitate more, you can become a scientist. You can become a professor, right? That's all it is. It's just passing the same false information down the line and indoctrinating generation after generation.
Let's talk about hormones. They have a massive impact on your physical and even mental health. But when your hormones are low or out of balance, they can make life dull and dry and lead to lethargy, fatigue, and even reduced sex drive. Womp womp. Now, one of the keys to hormonal health is giving your body all of the minerals that go into making the hormones that support energy, drive, and performance. The problem is that between industrial farming, environmental toxins, and declining food quality, it's almost impossible to get enough minerals from diet alone. Enter Beam Minerals, 100% natural, plant-based, and bioavailable. Their tasteless liquid formulas are the easiest way I've found to cover all my bases and make sure I'm ready for action at all times. They provide every essential mineral the body needs, all in a single 1-ounce shot, which I happen to take every morning and even sometimes at night. The Beam Minerals have no fillers or preservatives, just the purest fulvic and humic compounds sourced directly from the earth. So if you want to function as nature intended, hit up beamminerals.com and use the code Luke20 to get 20% off. Oh, and I should also mention that Beam Minerals are certainly not just for men. Women naturally go through periods of mineral deficiency in response to menstruation, childbirth, and menopause. So symptoms like cramping, sleep issues, and mood swings can actually be signs of mineral depletion. So be you man or woman, if you want to support optimal hormone health, you need the micronutrients in Beam Minerals. Again, visit beamminerals.com and use the code Luke20. I want to talk about some of the evidence. Now, I haven't looked into everything on this topic, but obviously I'm curious to learn. One thing that seems just on its face to be irrefutable is that you can see too far, right?
Yeah.
So you have these people running experiments where they have, one person holds a mirror on one side of, Lake Michigan, and then another person on the other side has a telephoto lens, and they can see the mirror on the other side when it should be mathematically, according to, this being a big ball, it should be on the other side of the curve and therefore invisible. And there's so many of these tests you can find. I'm like, how do you see that far if it's supposed to be over a curve? There's only two explanations. Either it's flat or it's a big ball that's much bigger than they're telling us it is.
Right. So the bigger ball, we all jump to that at first, but then we have observations that would require the ball to be thousands of times bigger.
Oh, really?
If the Earth is thousands of times bigger than they're telling us, that means there's thousands times the number of continents. That's a problem. Okay. I'm sorry. That's a problem, right? There might be other places I want to go. And there's all sorts of books from, 100 years plus ago about outer lands. Why were they talking about outer lands in the 1800s, right? In the 1900s? Why were they teaching flat Earth here into the mid 1900s in public school? Well, no, Dave, it was 2,000 years ago. Eratosthenes figured it out with his sticks and shadows, right? Why do globe believers always go back to ancient experiments rather than, we could do Eratosthenes' experiment in a couple of hours here with modern day transportation, right?
What is that experiment?
So Eratosthenes, this is the story. A Greek mathematician 2,000 years ago noticed on a certain day of the year at noon, he could see the sun's reflection in the bottom of a deep well. That means the sun is directly over the well. Makes sense. He can put a stick straight up and down in the ground and there'll be no shadow because the sun's directly above it. He said, hey, the Earth is a globe. We can figure out how big it is. So he's pre-assuming it's a globe. And we can figure out how big it is because the sun rays are all coming in parallel because the sun is so far away, infinitely far, they call it, 93 million miles, that the rays all are parallel. Understand? So, but the problem is, have you ever seen parallel rays? If you look out on a day where there's clouds and sun breaking through, the corpuscular waves, they come out, spread out, but they never parallel. But he assumed they were parallel. No one's ever seen parallel rays. Problem number one. And then he says, okay, so if my buddy is over the ball, his stick will be bent, and it'll make a shadow, and we can measure the length of the shadow, do some perfectly good math, and figure out the sphericity of the Earth. He did it, and they said that it came within like 2% of the current size that we say it is. Carl Sagan and the show Cosmos indoctrinated that into everybody. It was the biggest show in the 80s, talking about Eratosthenes, and it was in all the Rockefeller textbooks after that. Right? So Eratosthenes proved the shape of the Earth because the Greeks are so darn smart, right? The problem is on a flat Earth, that experiment works exactly the same with a local sun. Take two posts, two pencils, two lighters, two beer bottles, whatever you got, put them on a table, a couple feet apart, hold a light a foot or two above one of them, and there'll be no shadow. The other one will have a shadow. You can do the exact same math Eratosthenes did and figure out the sphericity of your table. Right? Math is not proof of anything. You take the numbers and you use the math, but if you're pre-assuming a globe with a distant sun, which there's no evidence of, you got your ball. But the same experiment can be done. So that falls into the basket, hey, that works on a globe Earth and a flat Earth. There's certain things we're going to talk about today that only work on a flat Earth. And there's certain things that we're going to talk about that should end up in a globe empty only basket, but nothing will end up in that basket. Nothing. Right? I offer 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof. Right? For those people that are, now here's the question I ask people.
3 Bitcoins these days is pretty meaningful.
Like 200 grand, right?
Yeah.
Right? So, but here's the thing. People that get triggered, they're like, you're an idiot. I'm not looking at it as you're science, physics. Oh, those are cool words. What science? What physics? All of them. Like what? What are you talking about? So here's the question I have for people. If I'm an idiot, this is stupid, come collect your Bitcoins. Why won't you do it? Because I'll tell you why you won't do it. Because your subconscious is telling you if you do it, you're going to end up a flat earther. Because that's what happened to all of us.
Right.
Right? That's what happened to all of us. So it's an honest offer. Come and take it. Right?
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
LukeStory.com/Flat Earth Dave is our show notes. We'll put it in writing right there.
No problem. I have an app. It's called the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. And the reason I'm telling you about this, you can find it at flatearthdave.com. It's Android and Apple, and it'll soon be on computers and de-Googled phones also. But it bypasses the algorithm because if you Google my name, Flat Earth, anything, Flat Earth Sunset Proof, we see too far, you just get propaganda videos.
Yes, this is another red flag to me, is that there is so much suppression of this topic. If you go on YouTube and you search, is flat Earth real? You will get pages and pages of so-called debunking videos. Meanwhile,
right, search my name, debunking videos.
Meanwhile, if you have a direct link, like there's one called, I think, 200 Flat Earth Proofs.
Flat Earth.
Yeah,
right.
That's a really compelling video.
Yeah, or A Stranger's Guide to Flat Earth 21 Questions. It's the top 21 questions answered in 3 or 4 minute segments.
We'll put those in the show notes.
Yeah,
but if you, like, to your point, if you search those, that you can't find them, but if somebody gives you the link, it's still there.
And
so why would they be suppressing the information if it was just some goofy ass shit?
Because it's dangerous to the future of science, you know?
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson says, we don't have time to talk to flat earthers. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the actor.
Yeah,
right?
That guy's you can look at him for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Bill Nye.
Yeah, Bill Nye, the lying guy with
frauds.
the bow tie.
Total frauds. I mean, you can literally just look at their picture and go, they're fake.
Yeah. He says there's no time to talk to flat earthers, but he makes video after video after video straw manning us. And why do you have to straw man? Why do you have to lie, right? We catch NASA using green screens and wires and augmented reality and zero-G flights, to fake their weightlessness on the International Fake Station. And why would you have to do that? But once you catch them doing that 900 times, let alone one time.
Why aren't they better at their
I have a theory about that.
Video production and stuff at this point?
Either they're too stupid or it's revelation of the method.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
One way, I go back and forth.
Because there's one too where you see the space station and there's a mouse crawling on it.
No, that's not the space station. It's on a rocket.
Oh, okay.
Right? And the rocket launches are so stupid. They're covered with tinfoil that's like flapping in the wind. It's
Right.
going 25,000 miles an hour. I don't think tinfoil just does that little flicker. That's like 10 miles an hour, right?
And why is NASA the largest holder of helium?
99% of all the helium in the world is controlled by NASA because they took away airships from us. You're familiar with airships in the past, right?
Like,
You know, people think of blimps and they think of that little pod underneath the blimp, right? No, that's just the pilot headquarters. Inside the blimp is a cruise ship.
no
of
way.
Rooms, bars, theaters,
What?
restaurants.
Oh my God.
It's incredible.
Are you serious?
And these things used to fly all over the world. They dock to the Empire State Building. They dock to the Eiffel Tower. They dock to all of these towers around the world. There was worldwide travel, but you can't have that because an airship is super safe and can travel for extended periods of time and go to lands that we can't reach in airplanes.
Because they don't run out of
So
fuel.
they false flagged the Hindenburg and made everyone afraid of hydrogen.
Oh shit.
And NASA owns all of the helium.
You're red pilling me so hard right now.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this.
Yeah, wait until you see. So I'm going to mention it right now. There's just yesterday, it came out. Stu Peters actually put it out on his network. My friend Sean Hibbler, who made Level, The Next Level, and Level with Me, 3 awesome films.
We'll link those in the show notes because people won't be able to search them.
Well, you'll be able to find all of that stuff on my app.
okay, cool,
Everything's
cool.
on my app, on my website.
Okay.
FlatEarthDave.com is the only thing you have to remember. That's
Okay.
the only thing.
Cool.
Everything is there. But he just came out one called Old World Order. All right.
I saw a trailer for that.
You saw a trailer. It came out yesterday. They tried to suppress
I'm
it. It was
watching it
supposed to
tonight.
come out last Saturday. It came out yesterday. If you open up your app, it'll be right there. It'll pop up. I have a pop up on there today. And it's about our faked history. It is scientifically impossible to watch this film and still believe in history. It completely destroys it. And the spell is broken. Watch this one film and the spell will be broken. And this is going to bring a lot of people to the true nature of our world because they're lying about everything. Our history, the Wild West, not true. The cities were here already. The cities were here already. You see people on muddy roads with horse and buggy and giant cathedrals and castles and buildings that we couldn't even build today. Like, how did that happen? And doorways 30 feet tall with locks 20 feet in the air. Wait a minute. Who are these buildings built for? Who built this? Right? Wait until you see this film. It is.
I love
epic.
this. I mean, it's kind of a different topic, but I love this when you start looking at the way that you'll see old photos like of the New York subway system and it'll say such and such, train system founded. Right?
Are you watching My Lunch Break?
And then there's no photos of it being built. You're talking about these marvels of innovation and technology, and there is zero documentation of how it got from nothing to something.
I mean, when you tell somebody that the cities were here before, they're like, no, what? There's a picture of the Washington Monument in the middle of a muddy field back in the 1800s. Or maybe it was even before
I saw that, yeah.
And there's buildings that they say were built in 1857, but there's a picture of it in 1790 with 100-year growth on it. And when you look at these buildings, they're old, they're not new. And then the World's Fairs, they didn't build those for the World's Fairs. They were here already.
Right. The World's Fairs were led to believe that those were like all paper mache buildings that they just threw up and then they just tore it all down. And meanwhile, there's like rivers running through them. And I mean,
it's just some of the stuff is amazing. And then the rabbit hole is so deep on that one. It's a lifetime of wows every day. There's never a day where I don't go, wow. And that's a great way to live, right? I used to
It
be
is,
bored.
yeah.
Hey, I have to leave in 45 minutes to go somewhere. So what am I going to do? I'm going to stare at the television. Oh, look, Gilligan's Island's on. I'll watch that, you know? And that was my life. I would watch just stupid stuff. Now, I don't watch TV. I do watch videos because I'm researching and I'm selecting the information that I want to analyze. You know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst.
Yeah.
Right. And
I have a T-shirt for you.
Okay.
It says conspiracy theorist, and then it's crossed out and says analyst. And then I made another one. I made my own T-shirts just to be fun.
Nice.
The other one says conspiracy theorist. It's crossed out and says pattern recognitionist.
There you go.
You know?
It's amazing.
And I also like to say, if they weren't conspiring, we wouldn't need to have theories about it. Just
Right.
stop lying, and we'll stop looking into your shit.
So, you know, to go back to 9/11 for a second, the conspiracy theory is that 2 planes knocked down 7 buildings, not 3 buildings, 7 buildings. You know about building 6?
No.
Right? The official, the real story is what we're talking about. The conspiracy theory is what the mainstream news says. So building 6, 10-story building, a full block long, 3/4 of the inside, all the way to the basement, went missing on 9/11. The outside walls were still up. The building was scooped out like you're scooping out ice cream out of a box, right?
What?
And it was missing. It went missing on 9/11.
Oh, dude.
Okay. So
What?
So what does that mean? What it means is, first I'm going to say, I don't know how it happened. What it means is there is a weapon that can vaporize a building's insides. There is a weapon that can turn concrete and steel into dust in midair. Because the building, when it fell, it started falling. We all remember the main tower. It would eat itself and stop. It was going through the path of most resistance. And it fell at the same speed as a bowling ball falling through the air. There's sections of the building, concrete and steel, that were ejected from the building. Sounds like something ejected it. And they turned into dust before they hit the ground. There is a weapon that can turn concrete and steel into dust in midair. That's all we know. Now, is that weapon a directed energy weapon? Probably. Where's it based? We don't know. Right?
Well, that's the thing with a lot of this is like, we don't know the truth. We don't know the answer. But if you are a discerning, relatively intelligent person, you know that what we're being told is not the truth.
Right.
So it's like, who did 9/11? How did they do it? I don't know, but I know that there's no plane at the Pentagon, and that jet fuel doesn't burn hot enough to melt steel, and on and on and on and on.
So the Pentagon, you know, it's a 737, I think. It's flying above the ground, which is impossible to do. Its wings hit the building, but they didn't break the windows. They folded back into the fuselage. The fuselage, which was this big, went into a hole that was this big. Right? It went in. The titanium engines vaporized. The luggage vaporized. The chairs vaporized. The people vaporized.
Yeah, everything disappeared.
Right? And
it was like a David Copperfield.
It's absolutely crazy. So directed energy weapons are a real thing. We've seen it in Maui. We've now seen it in South America. It's been happening. We've seen it in California. And some form of directed energy happened on 9/11. We'll get off 9/11 in a second, but there's how many the Hadron Particle Collider in Switzerland?
Mm-hmm.
How many particle colliders do you think there are on Earth?
God, I don't know. More than we're being told.
Thousands.
What?
They're everywhere. They were here before we got here. Okay? I don't believe they built CERN. I believe they found CERN. And they're working it. There's a particle collider out near Montauk, Long Island. And if you look at the center, and there's like a tower that I call it the aiming tower. If you draw a line from the center through the aiming tower, it goes down Long Island Sound, and it goes right between the 2 trade towers.
What?
There's another one in Pennsylvania on this weird little church Freemason campus, a small one, and it points right at unobstructed view of the trade towers. Now, does that have anything to do with it? I don't know. It just seems a little weird, right?
Right.
And the last thing about 9/11, because 9/11 is my baby, is if you want to fly from the major airports on the East Coast to California, the 6 a.m. flight is the way to go because you get there at like 10 a.m., you know, and you can have a full work day. And there's about 33 to 35 flights a day, weekdays, to California, and they're always booked solid. First class is sold out a month ahead of time, as always standing room only. On the morning of 9/11, I think there was 34 flights or 32 flights, I forget. And they're all sold out except the ones that were hijacked. They were only 30% full.
Really?
Isn't that weird?
Wow.
2 of them weren't scheduled to fly. Where did they get the passengers from?
Wow. I've always wondered if there, and you know, respect to anyone that was harmed or killed that day.
I live in Connecticut where everybody worked on Wall Street. So
right. But I've always wondered if they were faking the names and identities of the passengers.
1,500 of them don't have social security numbers.
I know someone that whose husband died in the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Like verifiably he was there, now he's not there. But in terms of people being on the planes, I've not seen any evidence that they were real people that really existed.
I know.
Do we think there were people on those planes?
I don't think there were planes.
Oh, this is the real black pill.
Yeah.
You reminded me. I recently saw a video that was like a camcorder that showed the second World Trade Center exploding, and there was no plane hit it.
Yeah,
it was
no
a
plane.
different
But then
angle.
later there was a plane. It's horrible. The only helicopter to film the second plane hitting was Chopper 5, and they said we're there. We're at the location. They were 5 miles away. So in their wide shot, you can see all of the Hudson River, right? And then they zoomed in. And then all of a sudden the plane just comes right into the corner of the picture into the building. Where was the plane? It was coming down the Hudson River. You would have had it. It would have been in like several hundred frames of the video, but it wasn't there. It wasn't there. And when it came through, it hit the building and the nose came out the other side undamaged. How does a plane that gets smashed by a goose?
They're like an aluminum can.
Yeah, it came out the other side and you couldn't tell the difference from when it went in. Right. Wow. But here's the last thing. And I want to get off of 9/11 because I could talk about 9/11 for this whole show and then we'll have to do another flat earth one.
If you lived here in town, we would just do 9/11 and then flat earth next time.
And then we could do Sandy and then we could do Boston and, you know, but I'm going to tell people where to find all the information out if they want. It's very easy. One site. Okay. So Chopper 5 zooms in, doesn't bother to look at the plane that's off to its right, low, coming in hot, right? If there was one. And then they have that anomaly where it sticks through. The guy that filmed it, his name, I believe, is Cy Symington. You know what his job is? The cameraman. His job, he writes the software and teaches the course on how to insert CGI aircraft into live video.
Gotta be kidding me.
You can't make this stuff up.
Wow.
Right? So his
name's Cy and his job is PsyOps.
Yeah. I think it's Cy Simon. Don't quote me on that. I'm 99% sure. It's been a while because I've been flat earthing for a while. Stoplookthink.com.
Cool.
Stoplookthink.com. There's a 9/11 section. Type in any other conspiracy. Type in to type the root canal theory. You know about the root canal conspiracy? Oh, no, my Lord.
I know that they're really bad for you.
Yeah, really bad. Really bad. 99% of women that have breast cancer have a root canal on the same side as their breast cancer. That's statistically impossible. All right. So on stoplookthink.com, just type in root canal, watch that video, and then you'll know. But there's 9/11 videos there. Watch them. There's a great one called The Key. Watch that about Cy Symington and how they screwed up and how the layer mask drifted off. I believe that Flight 93 that fake crashed in Pennsylvania was supposed to fake hit Building 7, but they still had to take down Building 7. So they had to wait and make up a story throughout the day because their simulation screwed up.
That was another one like the Pentagon where there was just like a hole in the dirt, no seats, no fuselage, no bodies, no sign of a plane crash whatsoever.
And it imploded into itself.
It's so frustrating to me, and I'm guilty of this too, that we humans are so easily deceived because
we're trusting and loving, we care, we believe. Like anything you tell me today, I'm going to believe it. Because I'm a good reader, right? You can lie to me. I don't think you're going to. I might lie to you,
I don't think you're going to either.
Sometimes I during a show, I really feel bad doing it. Like I tell them that I used to tell people, I don't do it anymore, that I went to medical school and then I left medical school because I realized allopathic medicine was horrible, right? And then later in the show, I said, did I go to medical school? And they're like, yeah, you did. I go, do you believe that? You know, and I say, well, I lied, right? And I'm doing it as a demonstration, but it still affects me, so I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just an example how easy it is to believe. Belief is the lazy man's knowing. I stole that from Crow 777 Radio. You know about Crow?
Yeah.
Crow's great podcast.
Big fan.
He says, belief is the enemy of knowing. Belief is easy. It takes zero effort. And you can go smoke a joint, drink, go do whatever you want. Take a nap. You know, you believe something? Okay, I'm done. You want to know something? I live in Connecticut, right? You want to know it? You're going to have to go take some time, figure it out. Look me up, find my friends, look at me on Facebook, see where I am, you know? And you can figure it out. And they're like, oh, so he does. Now you know. But no one's going to take that time and effort to do that for everything. And when somebody that we trust tells us something, you know, right. I don't want to live in a world where I can't trust everybody. So I trust everybody until you burn me.
Well, I think that's the issue we have too with deception is that if you're not a sociopath or a psychopath and you don't do things to deceive and harm other people, when you look at accusations of wrongdoing or evil in the world that's perpetuated by the controllers, the quasi-parasitic elites, you can't believe it's true because you can't put yourself in their position because you possess the gift of empathy and they don't. They are incapable of empathy. So to them, sacrificing children, starting a war. I just saw a tweet today of Nikki Haley signing an Israeli bomb, you know, saying like, I hope it gets where it lands, or, you know, something like job well done. I'm like, what a psychopath.
Yeah.
You're autographing a bomb that's going to go kill people. You are a fucking psychopath. But because I would never do that, it's difficult to me to believe that someone would.
You want to hear something great?
What?
I don't know who Nikki Haley is.
She's some politician. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a politician of some kind.
Okay.
But I just saw that and I was like, man, that is so dark. Signing a fucking bomb.
Yeah, so
I think it said like it said finish them is what she signed, and she signed her name, and then she put like USA Heart Israel, and I'm just like, dude, whoa, these are the people making the codes and statutes that we all erroneously believe we have to follow.
The interesting thing about flat earthers, people that have researched flat earth, it's literally unplugging yourself from the fear matrix, right? False evidence appearing real, unplugging yourself from the news, north, east, west, south, steering your mind, unplugging yourself from the lies, and all of a sudden you can see everything, right? The only truthful thing that what we call the anti-flat earth, you know, globe, either demons or paid agents get right is they go, oh, you're a flat earther, you're probably an anti-vaxxer. You got one thing right. Okay. You got one thing right. Right. So it's once you unplug from this, it unlocks the whole world. It unlocks your freedom. You take your power back, because 9/11, they couldn't have gotten away with it if everybody knew the earth was flat. Sounds weird, but people would be grounded. They understand that there's lies out there. All of the politicians, all the corruption in politics, all of the whole medical, you know, freedom nonsense that's been going on, all of that is destroyed when you wake up to you're at the center of creation. There is no other choice than there is a creator. I lived my whole life not believing there was a creator, believing in evolution. I lived the whole thing. And it's because of the heliocentric model made me laugh at religion, made me laugh at spirituality. But when I discovered that the earth is intelligently designed, incredibly intelligently designed, there is no other choice than there is a creator. I draw the line right there. I said, once you know there's a creator, that's your personal relationship. It's none of anyone else's business. And that's it. So and that's what the elite don't want, because they can't control a population that knows there's a higher power. Now they can get to someone to go, you know what? Maybe there isn't a God. Maybe the Big Bang is, you know, not just made up by a Jesuit priest, right? Then you can control the person. if all the politicians knew that the earth was flat and there's a creator, all of the laws that they make would have to follow natural law, God's law. So what they did is they created a satanic ball, all the 666s in the model, like, you know, we're orbiting at 66,600 miles an hour. It curves at 0.66 feet per mile or whatever. It's crazy. At 0.666 feet per mile. There's so many 666s. It's insane. It's like, it's endless. And that's just, I find that fascinating. Once you see all of that, it changes everything. I had a point, but I lost it. It's going to come back.
Well, it's actually, you're going into like one of the biggest questions I and other people have is, you know, why would so much effort be put into creating this false construct and this lie? Like, why is there a globe in every classroom, and every cartoon has a globe, and every movie studio's animation has, it's just like, why did they put so much effort? And if they did, and if what you're saying is true, then it would make sense to me that cutting us off from God would be the absolute best way to control our minds.
Absolutely. If they create
because then the state becomes God.
They create the satanic ball, they put you on it. It's a ball filled with fear and lack. And if you live on there and use their fake fiat currency, you have to play by their rules. But if you unplug from that, put your feet back down on God's world, realize that you're at the center of creation, they have no control over you, right? We don't need to protest. We don't need to riot. We don't need to take down the government. We need to ignore them so they don't exist. They would just be powerless. The only power that they have is the power that we have in our imagination for them. They're just a big lie. They think government, man, and no God, right? It's God, man. I don't even know if government belongs down there, right? Govern is to control, meant is the mind. Literally, they're here to control us, and people. A lot of people say, "What different?" You know, I'm only one person. I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. That's not true. One person with the truth is stronger than a million liars. And you just have to stand in your truth. You have to understand it. You have to understand where you are, your true power, that your thoughts create your reality. Everything you have in your life, you thought into existence. Everything.
I was sitting here the other day during a podcast, and there's a potted plant behind you. And I looked at that and I thought, I'm kind of tired of that pot. It's kind of old and dingy looking. I want to get a new pot. And there's the new pot. You know what I mean?
You ever, like, there's something like,
I had to have the thought.
Yeah, you have to think of, there's certain things that you know you're going to get, and you just get it. And I'm not talking just material. I'm talking about everything from your wife to your life to your spirit. It's all there. And I think that these psychopaths don't have the ability to manifest for themselves, so they need us to manifest it for them. So they want us with that loose energy, that negative, thoughts, and they want us, they love truthers that are putting out fear porn, right? Because then everyone's falling into that fear, and they take that energy. This is a spiritual war. It's how they get away with it, because they've trained everyone to believe that that's not a thing, right? So if you're in a spiritual war and you don't believe in a spiritual war, you're going to lose.
Yeah. I think that's true. Is for some reason that class of being or entity seems to lack creative inspiration and creative power. Therefore, they've created this infrastructure of systems in our society wherein they are parasitically siphoning our creativity, our ideas, our energy, because they're devoid of it. It's like they can't create on their own. So out of their own desperation, they essentially rob us of our creative energy.
Here's another thing too, which is it's kind of like a catch-22. It's hard for us to be proven right, because when they always tell us something, they always tell us what they're doing. And then if we notice it, they don't do it. If we don't notice it, they pull it off, right? All these false flags, these hoax shootings and stuff, they tell us. They have a drill of the exact same thing. On the morning of 9/11, there was over a dozen drills of planes being hijacked and crashed into buildings, including the World Trade Towers. On the morning of the Beachy School in Connecticut, I don't want to say the name just in case I put this on YouTube or something. They were doing a drill of a shooting at that school. During the Boston Marathon, they were doing a drill of a bomb going off at the finish line.
Wow.
Right? They even announced it.
Wow.
Okay. So if you catch them in the act, they go, no, it's just a drill. And then, so you can never be proven right. I believe that there's lots of things that we've caught and they've stopped.
Oh,
I believe that
interesting.
we've pushed their timeline out and they're trying to push it forward because too many people are waking up from hearing shows like this that are waking up. The veil is thinning, the whole, 2020 pandemic, people have had a lot of time to look around since they're working from home,
Yeah, lock all the people in their house with the internet. Bad idea.
Bad
if you're
idea.
Trying to control
Bad
their
idea.
mind.
Bad.
Because even with censorship, we're going to find a way.
Bad idea. That's why flatearthdave.com. Check out my app. If you don't want to get the app, to scroll down to the crash course.
And the app's like only a couple
it's
dollars.
$3 one-time charge.
Okay.
Right. But there's a yearly subscription for just $11 a year. That's for some of the higher functions, the video chatting, the meetup maker, the matchmaker, because $3. The $3 pretty much keeps the trolls away, right?
Yeah,
and then the $11 definitely keeps them away. So it's literally troll free in there.
You keep a clean ecosystem.
Yeah, it's super clean. And I also made it so you can, whenever you're showing somebody images from the image search or videos and stuff, they're like, where do I get that app? You could use a referral code. And you used to just get points that you can trade in for a free subscription. But now you're going to get a new crypto that we released called Dome. I think it's better than Dogecoin. There's less of them, and
Cool.
you can earn it for free. You're a crypto guy, right? A little bit.
I'm a novice at
so
best.
there's proof of work, proof of stake. Like the way Bitcoin is mined is computers solving math equations that use lots of electricity, and that's how it's mined, right? Dome is mined by unlocking mines. Right. And the way it's mined is anytime you refer someone to the app and they use your referral code, you get 1,000 Dome. 1,000 Dome are released to you, to your wallet address for free. Right. So every person you wake up to the truth, unplugged from the matrix, creates another 1,000 Dome.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Cool.
wild. It's going to be very, very cool. And, I highly recommend people check it out.
Epic.
Yeah,
We will.
it's super. It's literally the single best way to wake people up and also to educate yourself. I just tell people, get the app, and every morning while you're having your tea or coffee, whatever, hit the daily video, watch the daily video. That's it. And you're done. Your homework's done.
All right. So that's a good setup for what we're going to talk about here.
Okay.
I want to dive into some of the holes in the story and anomalies. And before I do, I'll say it's funny because really the burden of proof should be on the one making the claim.
Yeah.
So if the nature of our realm is as we've been taught, then they should be able to prove it to us because they're making the claim that this is what it is. So it's kind of unfortunate that anyone that doesn't believe their claim, that has little to no proof, has to now do all this research and make the claim. Let's face it, family. The Western medical system is not designed to provide us with optimal health. Actually, the more products they can sell you, the richer they get, even as you get sicker. It's a great business model, but not great for us if we want sustained vitality and longevity. Now, on the other hand, traditional Eastern medicine tends to take a preventative approach to illness, cultivating radiant health instead of treating symptoms after you're already sick. Drawing from the 5-element system of Chinese medicine and sourcing from small Japanese family farms, Shen Blossom has curated a collection of health products that are truly unique. I'm a huge fan. Shen Blossom offers rare, natural formulas to combat pain and inflammation, boost the immune system, support intestinal health, ease sore throats and coughs, and disinfect the body. And here's a hot tip. One of my favorites from Shen Blossom is the Aki Hinoki Blood Purifier with pine resin for powerfully detoxing the blood, glands, tissues, while also dissolving spiked proteins. You'll find all of these badass one-of-a-kind formulations at shenblossom.com. And use the discount code Luke to save 10% off. That's SHENBLOSSOM, shenblossom.com. The code is Luke. And because they're made with a living alcohol, all of their traditional sake preparations provide your body with prebiotic and probiotic elements that nourish your health and longevity. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, and that's how they do it. So click your way over to shenblossom.com. Oh, and make sure to try their miso soup ingredients. It is literally the best I've ever had in my life. I am completely obsessed. If you do nothing else, in fact, go to shenblossom.com and get all the ingredients you need to make their miso soup, and your life will be changed forever. So what I want to get right now is from you, some of the greatest hits that are rebuttals to someone listening that's like, yeah, but I learned this in school, and what about astrophysicists and this and that? And the first one to me that is like, I can't explain is when you look at flight paths and you look at emergency landings, and anyone can look this stuff. I mean, you won't find it on YouTube because it'll be like all censored, but it makes no sense to me, just objectively, that if you have a plane going from, Auckland, New Zealand to Argentina, and they have an emergency landing, that they fly up and land in LA. That doesn't work on a round ball. It makes no sense.
Makes no sense. The emergency landings are one of my favorites, and the southern flight paths are absolutely mind blowing. When you look at them, to fly from Australia to Santiago, which would be at the bottom, you should just go across Antarctica or just around it. They go all the way up to like Dubai and across the United States and then all the way back down, which is crazy. Nobody should ever have to go that far.
Would the argument for that be, the trade winds, they have to go this way to save fuel? Is there any logical explanation for that?
There's no logical explanation. Here's one of the routes from Santiago to Australia. They go, why would they go all the way up across the equator? And this is what it looks like on a flat Earth, straight line.
Oh man.
Okay.
Dude.
Yeah. And there's so many of them, but things are changing. They're actually doing some they've got some other plane technology. I'll talk about that in a second. Here's one. There's 3 different flights, 3 different locations. They go up and down, but look at them on a flat Earth. They're pretty much a straight line.
From Hong Kong to Malaysia to Dubai.
Yeah. It's amazing. And then another one that's very interesting is this is Hawaii here. And all of these flights are north of Hawaii. North? Yeah, they're all north of Hawaii. Look on a globe. None of them should be north of Hawaii.
Wow.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that's hard for me to get my head around because of all of the programming is we think about the North and the South Pole, right? But in this model, if it's a flat surface, then North is the center where there's this magnetic force, and then everything that's the opposite of that north is all south. So there is no south pole. Everything is south.
Yeah.
Then east to west is just you going in a circle above a flat
Let's talk about that one second. One more.
I'm trying to get my head around it.
This is the World Cup. They played in Doha, and Argentina, they had their own. So people say, they go to these stops because they have to change pilots and drop off other passengers. Own chartered flight. Only the soccer people on this flight. They want to go home. They went to Rome. And then they went to Argentina. Does Rome look like it's in the right direction towards home? Right? They went there to refuel.
That takes more fuel.
Yeah. It's in the wrong direction. But if we look at it on a flat Earth map.
Oh my God. This is exploding my brain, dude.
Yeah. So on the app, in the frequently asked questions section, there's Southern flights, a whole bunch of videos that YouTube won't ever show you. They're hidden from you. Just watch those. There's mind-blowing stuff. So you were asking, you were moving on to, what was the next topic?
Well, I'm looking for, arguments that can't be disproven. I mean, looking at the flight paths to me is like cases closed, kind of. Something is up, right? I don't know what's going on, but it makes no sense. And the other one that I'd like you to go into is the one that seems fairly obvious to me, is that you can see too far. Like, how does the math play out on that? And what would be science TM's rebuttal to why you can see so far? How do they try to explain that away?
Yeah, well, there is no good rebuttal to it. So the argument that you'll get from a Glober is, why does it take the same amount of time to fly from New York to Spain or whatever than it does to go from Santiago to Australia, which on a flat Earth map is twice as far. So the first thing I say is, if I was going to drive across the United States in my new Maserati, and my grandmother is going to drive across, only halfway across the United States in her Datsun, who's going to get there first? I'm going to California. She's just going to Nebraska. I might get there first. Why? I'm going faster, right? She's driving slow. So planes fly at different speeds. There's different wind speeds at different levels. Do you know that we found a FAA document that said at like 45,000 feet out in the outer, like out near the Tropic of Capricorn, there's winds that are 350 miles an hour that circle the Earth. 350 mile an hour winds. And so how would we know? And these winds change, but they're pretty consistent. Did you know that twice a day, every single day, they launched 1,000 water balloons all over the Earth at the exact same time? So there's stations all over the Earth. They release, I think it's 950 stations. They release a balloon at the exact same time that transmits weather data back to a supercomputer that models the whole thing. And they can tell exactly where the winds are. So the plane that goes from Santiago to Australia nonstop is a Boeing Dreamliner, forget the number. But it's a special plane that's made for this trip. It has 7 layers of heat-resistant paint. That's a problem. That's interesting. Why does it have heat-resistant paint? Maybe it's going a little faster than they tell us. And it flies at like 45,000 feet. So you got a 350 mile an hour tailwind, a plane that's just going, let's say it goes 600 miles an hour instead of 550. Make that 950 with the tailwind land speed. The times make perfect sense. They make absolute perfect sense.
What about how fast is the official story of how fast the Earth globe is spinning?
So the Earth is spinning once per day, 15 degrees per hour. If you're on the equator, you're moving just over 1,000 miles per hour.
According to the official narrative.
That's faster than the speed of sound. So when you go out and watch the sunset, you're in a peaceful setting. You're watching the sunset. The sun isn't moving away like all of your senses tell you. You're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So this is a problem I have.
Real quick, this is on the app. This is a weather map showing real-time winds. See those pink and white out there?
Yeah.
Those are 250 mile an hour plus winds out there. So put a plane in there that can fly at a nice speed with a nice tailwind. You're going to make some time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if this ball is spinning as fast as they claim it is, I've always wondered, how can a hot air balloon, fly up and just hover? Why doesn't it end up down the road or a helicopter?
Right. When they say that the Earth's air, this is the official story, you ready? Right? The Earth has been spinning for so long that the friction of the mountains has dragged all of the air to its speed. The friction of the mountain. What is there friction in the air?
What?
Is there friction holding this air from that air? Right? It's all going around with it, but a summer breeze can blow left and right. Winds at 40,000 feet are outrunning the spin of the Earth. Right? If you're standing on the equator, let's round it down to say 1,000 miles an hour you're moving. If you went up, the higher up you go, the bigger your circle is. You actually have to speed up to stay over that piece of ground, right? Because the circle of the Earth is 24,900 miles around. If you're up here, that might be 27,000 miles an hour. You have to go faster to make that. So you have to speed up. There's winds that outrun the spin of the Earth. Explain that. You can't.
Wow.
You can't explain it.
Wow. I saw someone when I was kind of looking into this question about why, can a helicopter just go up and stay in the same place if the Earth is spinning underneath it?
The air is going with the Earth.
It would end up in a different place. And someone's rebuttal to that was, well, if you're driving down the road in a car at 80 miles an hour and you have a bird inside the car, the bird is not getting left behind.
Also, the Earth is enclosed like the car is. Open up the roof of the car, like the Earth doesn't have a shell over it, right?
Right.
The globe Earth. Right? People go, I like you're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. you're orbiting at 66,600 miles an hour. You're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour. And you don't feel anything. They go, well, I can ride in an airplane and drink water and walk to the bathroom, right? And you don't notice the speed. I was like, oh, you want to compare the airplane to the slowest of the Earth's motions, which is the spin? First, the airplane's only going 500 miles an hour. So you have to double it to 1,000 miles an hour. You now have to remove the outer shell of the airplane because there is no outer shell over the Earth. And you have to nosedive at 1 mile per minute just to follow the curve at that speed and not fly off into space. Let me know how your water's doing and your trip to the bathroom's going. Okay.
Oh, I asked a pilot recently, who's just, private pilot. I said, because I'm trying to unpack this shit. I don't know. I don't pretend to know, but there's just so many anomalies like we're talking about. I'm just like, wait, hold up. So I asked him, I said, is the Earth round or flat? He said, duh, idiot, it's round. And I said, okay, well, when you fly in a plane, do you have to set your instruments to correct so that you're constantly descending
He
slightly?
says it's done automatically, right?
So no, I forget what he said, but whatever it was, it made no sense. Because to me, if you're flying around a round ball and you don't constantly descend, then you would just eventually be going
Fly right
up and
off
up and
into
up and
space.
fly into space.
Within an hour, you'd be at 80,000 feet.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's crazy. I have major.
And then I said to him, I said, why is it called an aeroplane then?
you want to try something fun? It might be fun. I don't know. I grab my phone. I'm going to call an American Airlines pilot. I'm going to tell him to not say his name and say, is the Earth the globe or what? Or is it flat or globe?
See if he'll pick up.
Yeah. You want to do it?
I love it. I mean, because I think if anyone knows what's up, it's got to be a pilot. I mean,
Well, most of them are just glorified bus drivers. He tells us that most of them, some of them just can't see it. They, when he learned how to, when he became a pilot, if he didn't know how to rebuild the plane, he wasn't allowed to fly it. Now, if you ask a question, how does that work? They go, you don't need to know that. Just punch in the numbers.
Oh,
They'll
interesting.
just punch in the numbers.
I've also asked pilots about chemtrails, and they look at me like I'm insane. That doesn't exist. I'm
That's
I'm
crazy.
like, dude, you guys
they admit it now.
You're flying right next to the same planes that are spraying, and your plane's not leaving a trail, and that one is, and you're at the same humidity, same altitude, same conditions. How is that possible? And I just get a blank stare.
Crazy. All right, let's see if this works. I'm gonna try it.
If he picks up, it'll be amazing.
Yeah. Speaker. Hey, don't say your name. Don't say your name and don't say anything. I'm on a podcast. We're talking about airline pilots and curvature. What do you want to say? What do you want to say about the Earth? Is it flat? Do you nose down to follow the curve? What would you say?
No, we fly perfectly straight and level and up to about 41,000 feet. There's no curve, and it's just pretty still up there unless it's turbulent.
What percentage of major airline pilots know that the Earth is not a spinning ball?
Just a handful of people that I know. Most of the time when I brought it up, I just get an emotional response out of people. They usually don't even want to discuss it or toy with the idea, and I don't bring it up saying the Earth is flat. I just usually, because a lot of pilots like to say they see satellites at night. I fly with them all the time, and I'll just delicately ask them how far away that satellite is, and they don't know. So I tell them roughly 250 miles. You know how big it is? They don't know, and I tell them, and we get down to like what you discussed, your field of vision, the angular projection or whatever you call it.
Angular resolution.
You can't possibly see it. And their brain just shuts down.
Yep.
And then they say, what do they usually say? Well, so you're saying there's no satellites. I didn't say any of that.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is you can't see something that small with reflected sunlight 250 miles away, and then I usually just drop it.
All right, I got to run.
Most pilots love space.
Where you flying? Where you flying to next?
I just got back at midnight last night. On the 2nd, I got a 3-day trip. I haven't checked to see where it goes yet.
All right. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
No problem.
Bye.
Well, that was a first on the Lifestylist podcast.
American Airlines veteran pilot for many years.
Wow.
And he can see it. It's amazing how some people can't see it even when shown. There's people that can see when shown, and people that can't see.
Many of you listening will probably know that Nikola Tesla was onto some next level research and invention. Well, unfortunately, a lot of technology that can really help people has been suppressed. So I'm always curious to learn about the latest health devices on the energy medicine scene. And that's why when my friend Brandon offered to let me try out his Therify device, I was stoked. The Therify is a frequency device that uses a unique method of transforming electricity, just as Tesla himself discovered. It combines electrostatic and electromagnetic fields with light, effectively creating a human battery charger. It's wild. Therify sessions rapidly but gently stimulate the body's natural healing processes, reducing inflammation, relieving pain, and boosting the immune system. And I gotta say, my first session left me feeling that ideal combination of relaxed, rejuvenated, yet energized, and I was instantly obsessed. You can get yours by visiting therifyusa.com and use the code Luke to save $333. That's THERAPHIUSA, therifyusa.com, and you'll also get free shipping on your Therify unit. Oh, and heads up, while you're there, check out the Therify developer Paul Harris's newest creation, the Quantify. It's a unique alternative to lifestyle machines that's compact and super easy to use. And while the original Therify device is geared toward healing practitioners, the Quantify is geared toward professional and home use. So if you happen to own a healing or biohacking center or something like that, this technology could be an incredible addition to your services. Again, that's therifyusa.com, and the code is Luke. Well, when I first heard this concept, I was imagining that space was still real as we've been taught to believe. And so I pictured like a pizza floating in space. And, this is that old idea, we used to think the earth was flat and you could just fall off the edge.
That's what they want you to
The
think.
way I'm kind of thinking about it now in light of this conversation is like, because we don't know what's outside of the Antarctic Circle, it could just be an infinite plane of land that goes on to eternity. Right? That there is no like edge of the disc, as we kind of, someone that would make fun of someone that believed in this would be like, oh, so what, you're going to fall off the edge? What if there's no edge? What if the edge is this ice wall that holds in the water? Because all water needs a container. Otherwise it just runs off somewhere.
Right. So you were talking about we can see too far.
Yeah.
On a ball, whatever size it is, there's math that will tell you how far you can see before there is a physical curve. Okay.
Right. Like if you're looking at a building that's,
the
X
bottoms
amount
of buildings will disappear on a flat earth. That's a whole nother topic.
Oh, okay.
And they will disappear for multiple reasons. Right. But we're not talking about just the bottoms. And the reason they disappear from the bottom first is just because the angular size there is the lowest. You stand up higher, you can see farther. Lay down at a Home Depot floor and look across the floor. You can't see all the way across, but stand up a little bit, you can see. Like you won't be able to see people's shoes on the other side of the floor, but then lift your head up, you can see them again. It's not because the floor is curved, it's because the angular view. This is the picture, and you can find it on the app. Just type in 700 in the pictures. In the background here, there's all of these mountains in the Alps, 700 miles away. Using their globe Earth calculator, the one that gives them the benefit of the doubt. From that viewing height, calculating that in there, those mountains, the tops of those mountains should be over 50 miles below a physical curve. But they all show up on the same line. And the official story is that they're just refracting up, right? On the debunking sites, they have a great thing. They're like, put in your observation height, put in the distance, and then it calculates the curve. And then it's like, oh, if you can't see it, slide this bar, the refraction bar. Okay, 1 refraction, 2 refraction, 3. You slide it until it shows up on the horizon. Stop. Okay, that's the refraction. It's a magic refraction bar. And so it'll take anything and straighten it up. And when it gets straight, you stop there and go, oh, there's 37 refraction, whatever the number is, It's stupid.
So what about all of the beautiful photos we've seen of solar systems and galaxies and planets and
There are
stars.
lights in the sky. No star has ever been seen anything more than just a point of light in the sky. The only thing you can say about this a star is that it's a point of light in the sky.
And why don't they ever, if we are traveling to spaces, we've been told, why are there never any real videos? You'd think like if you were going to the International Fake Station that you would be like, so excited. You'd be filming videos of like
Well, they have
going
more
away
important
from the
things to do. They have
Earth.
science to do. They have science and things. How about this?
Like, why is there no documentation to support their claim? In other words, that's not CGI. Everything I see when I look into this, it's all cartoons. They call them like renderings or something. It's like
composites.
Composites, yeah, kind of like when the pandemic happened. There was like pictures of the virus, and then you find
it's very scary.
It's not a picture. It's like a computer generated, a cartoon.
They're horrible at it. When you're in an airplane approaching your home airport and looking out the window and you see your house, what do you say to the stranger next to you? You're like, hey, that's my house, right?
Right.
That's cool, right? When you go to the moon in the blackness of space and look up at the blue marble, the most incredible thing that you'll ever see, you think you'd take a picture of it or video it? There's not 1 second of video. They have video of them playing golf and riding a doom buggy and hammering a flag into the ground, but never once did they point the video camera towards the earth.
Huh.
Not once. Not once did they say the word earth.
Really?
The entire dialogue, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
The entire dialogue should be, holy fucking shit, look at the earth. Oh my God, look at the earth. Holy moly, look at the earth. That's all the entire dialogue should have been, look at that. Oh crap. That's the whole dialogue. Never once did they say earth. Never once did they take a single video of it. Never once did they take a camera and do a 360. Never once. Like on a sitcom. You never do a 360 because you show the fourth wall.
Right.
There's so many anomalies. It's insane.
What about like these supposed, rocket launches too? I've noticed with those that it's never one continuous shot. There's always like these jump cuts of the whole thing.
There's 6 edits before it clears the tower. Then there's no smoke. Then there's a close-up, right? I have an Elon Musk video that I show often in my interviews, flatearthdave.com. Go down to the interviews button, watch one of those. And it's a rocket testing that he's going to send to Mars. The onboard camera versus the ground camera. The ground camera is shooting this thing. It's got to be a couple thousand feet in the air at the most. But the onboard camera shows the curve of the earth. It's so high at the same time. All right. And then it falls back to earth. And there's the one little rocket that lands it perfectly upright. Like, not for like a Harrier jump jet or something or a drone, whatever. One, it lands it upright. Elon Musk is shooting these rockets up that go up to space, right? You can see the curve. The earth is spinning, going through all those winds there. And then the first stage comes off and falls back to earth. Remember those trade winds I told you, 350 miles an hour, plus the earth is spinning, plus ocean currents, plus winds, all sorts of stuff. This thing's falling. It's got 2 little milk crates that turn, and it's steering it back to a drone ship. No people on this raft. 800 miles off the coast of Florida. Nobody's out there. And it lands upright in a bullseye. And 9 out of 10 times, the camera that's filming starts shaking as it gets close and goes black because they lose the signal. Because it's so far, it's 800 miles away, so they lose the signal because it's over the curve of the earth. Right? It's so ridiculous. But here's the thing. People don't watch it. People just hear it and go, wow, it lands upright. That's so cool. Right? Just the other day, Jeff Bezos with his penis-shaped rocket shot 7 people up in the air, one 94-year-old guy, right? No one's on these rockets, but the capsule came down and they show it. It slammed into the ground so hard, there's 0 chance anybody could live. They all walk out like, yes, yes. It's a total stage show. If you watch these things.
What's NASA's budget?
$80 million a day.
A day?
Every day, including holidays.
Oh my God.
Not sure about leap year though.
It would take what, a month to apply that budget to the entire homeless crisis in this country, and it would be solved.
Yeah. $80 million a day.
Just-
What did they give you?
I'm speaking in guesses, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know, take $80 million right now to downtown Austin, and you just took care of all those people.
Yeah. That's one day.
Wow.
If somebody gave you $10 million, do you think you'd give them something back? What has NASA ever given us except hopes and dreams?
Cartoons.
Cartoons.
Wow. What about the Nazi origins of NASA?
Well, Werner von Braun, the supposed rocket scientist from Russia, it runs NASA. On his gravestone, it says Psalms 19:1, which the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Weird.
Oh my God.
Revelation of the message, message, poke in the eye, not sure. Deathbed
Right.
confession, not sure. Whatever it is, it's you know,
Wow.
it's out there. And what have they ever done? They're not doing anything other, you know, and the Globers look like, you wait till 2026, they're going to go. On the Flat Earth Clock app, if you go to the more resources page, there's a section called Flat Earth Movies, movies and documentaries. We have one in there called NASA Going Nowhere Since 1959. And it basically shows how every administration goes, we're going to Mars, we're going to the moon, we're going to Mars, we're going to the moon, we're going to Mars, we're going to the moon. And they just keep shifting. And we're going nowhere. We went to the moon half a dozen times in the 1960s and 70s
And we lost that
with men,
technology.
played golf, ran a scooter around, right? Which, how did they get the scooter in that thing, right? They somehow took off, filmed the takeoff on the moon, connected to the orbiting orbiter, and then made it back to Earth. Why the Earth is, you know, traveling, why the moon. Think about the moon. The Earth is going around the sun 66,000 miles an hour. So the moon, when it's here, if the sun's over there, it's going 66,000 miles an hour. But to get out in front, it has to go faster. And then when it's in front, it has to slow down. Otherwise, it's going to run away. So now it's going 66,000 miles an hour. And then it has to go slower to go back here, right? And then when it goes here, it has to speed up again. Otherwise, it's going to get left behind.
Oh my God, dude.
What are the mechanics for that?
Oh man.
There's no mechanics for that.
This is hurting my brain.
There's so much.
It's like there's a part of me that doesn't want to believe that we've been lied to this egregiously,
'Cause
and
it's
that
horrible,
I
right.
believed it. You know?
Well, it's easier to fool somebody than to convince them they've been fooled. But this is one that's the whole foundation of your life. Did you like Star Wars, Star Trek?
Love.
Oh,
My
that's
name's
great.
Luke.
Yeah.
It came out when I was 8 years old. I mean,
Wow.
come on. I remember going to the theater and watching Star Wars. And you know, the funny thing about this too, I've realized is I've always had this fear of space. Like I find the idea of space just terrifying. So I love movies about, there was one called, I think, Sunshine, where they're trying to launch a nuke into the sun to save the world. And then they all get trapped out in space. And it's like so terrifying. So I wonder if it's like part of the programming is making us afraid of space.
I don't want to deviate, but are you
Yeah.
aware of the nuke hoax?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. the where the nukes go off, but the camera's fine at 50 feet away
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right. And them stacking TNT at ground zero at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then 3 days after the bomb goes off, the trains are open, the sandwich shops are open, they're selling flowers on the street, everyone's back to work. Right? It was just a bomb, just one bomb. You know, and no one's allowed to report on it. So that's another thing. Fear, false evidence appearing real, and lack. That's what they want us living in. Fear and lack when there's abundance and love everywhere, right?
And an intelligent designer.
Intelligent design.
Yeah, because I think with the Big Bang Theory and the whole heliocentric model, part of the atheistic underpinnings of that is that everything is just an accident and random. Therefore, there's no God, and therefore you are not safe. Be afraid, because man, anything could just go haywire at any given time. We could get hit by a meteor or an asteroid.
Meteors don't exist. What
aliens
about the
and-
craters, Dave? The
Yeah,
craters.
tell me
I've
about
seen
craters.
The craters. So whenever we see a meteor, it's always in northern Russia. It's caught by some dash cam, and it's coming in at an angle, a very shallow angle, right? Well, how do you create a perfectly circular crater from a shallow angle, right? And the excuse they give you is so stupid. But there's a video that leaked in Nevada of planes flying low testing this firework that literally they shoot out in front of the plane. It looked exactly like those meteors. So these are just, when we film a meteor coming in, that's just something from an airplane. It's just a exotic firework from an airplane.
Well, yeah, because these craters that are supposedly
They're perfect circles.
Yeah, and there's no, there's no line going into it, right? It's like it would
Perfect
be
circles. Right? They come from within the earth. They're methane bubbles, liquefaction. Right? Right? Look up methane craters and geysers. Look at a geyser versus a crater, a dried up geyser. It's exactly the same.
Oh my God.
It's exactly the same.
Right.
Right? And then people say, well, I find these pieces of metal in there. I don't know what those are from. Maybe they're coming up from the earth, right? They want you to believe they're coming from space when an astronaut gives a Dutch president a space rock, a moon rock, and he finds out that it's petrified wood.
Really?
One of the astronauts gave a gift and they wanted to insure it, but the insurance company said they wanted to inspect it and they said it's petrified wood.
No way. They ran analysis on it and it's petrified wood.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So you know what that means? There's trees on the moon, of course.
Right. Well, going back to the moon, I'm pretty sure I have observed stars through one half of the moon when the moon is visible, it
has been observed.
dusk.
I haven't seen it other than in photos myself. I saw one video that it's good. I need to see it myself, but when the moon is waxing or waning and there's just a crescent, there's nothing there. But then on the other side, when it's coming back, there's like a transparent moon there, right? So a new moon, it might just be that. It might be a new moon, right? Think about this. The moon is supposedly a piece of the earth that got knocked off when another planet hit us or something, and then it formed a perfect ball, right? The gravity pulled it into a perfect ball that got tidally locked and controls women's cycles. Wait, how did that happen, right? The moon controls the women's cycles, and the sun.
The tide.
Well, that's what they say. There's no correlation, right? And the sun controls the men's cycles, right? We are beings of the sun, the S-O-N, the S-U-N, whatever you want to call it, okay? Right. Think about this. So when there's a full moon, that means the sun is off to my right and the moon is off to the left, and it's being lit up, and we see a full moon, right? So when there's a full moon, high tides are higher than normal. Okay. It's the gravity of the moon that's supposedly pulling the tides. I have a thing. If the gravity's pulling the tides, wouldn't the middle of the ocean bulge and it be low tide? Okay. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. But when there's a new moon in the heliocentric model, the moon's still there. There's just no light on it. So the moon is right next to the sun. So you got the sun's gravity and the moon's gravity. It should be a massive tide, but it's not as high. And then there's these tidal nodes all over the world that there's no tide, and the high tide and low tide circle around those tidal nodes.
Wow. With the sun,
hold on the tides, in the frequently asked questions on the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, there's a tides button, and I just added 3. This guy is amazing. Talks about the ocean waters below, the springs below the ocean, feeding and taking water away under the ocean. Like the tides are coming from the waters of the deep. It's quite fascinating. But there's a lot of
I want to see that
information. It's in there under tides.
I've always intuited that, and this can be supported by the idea of primary water, because I'm a huge spring water fan, right? It's like, it seems quite evident that the planet itself makes water just like it replenishes crude oil, right? It just makes new oil because they'll drill a well, suck it dry, come back later, and it's full again. What, more dinosaurs under the ground died and decomposed?
So whenever someone mentions primary water, I feel an obligation to bring this topic up.
Okay.
So Muammar Gaddafi, do you know about the Great Man-Made River? Okay, this is the greatest secret and the greatest tragedy of all time, right? I was taught that he was an evil dictator and he had a scary face, and I was worried that he's going to blow up the world with nuclear bombs. There's a speech he did at the UN in the 70s, I think, where he was angry and he was talking, and the news translated it as, he's just angry, he's doing all this stuff. But somebody translated it and basically said, in the future, the New World Order is going to depopulate the earth with vaccines and fake viruses and all, just everything he was saying is everything that we're living today. Right. And so backing out of that, that's not the main part of the story. He was drilling for oil in the desert in Libya, and he hit an ocean of water underneath the desert, a pristine, ancient, amazing water, an ocean, an endless ocean under the ocean. So he started what's called the Great Man-Made River. He made pipes, giant pipes buried in the desert going all across Africa. Right. It took him 40 years of work. Right, 40 years, and he was piping fresh water all over Africa. Any family that wanted to start a farm, he gave them land, water, seeds, cattle, tractors, everything, but they had to grow an organic farm. Organic farms were popping up all over Africa, and his goal was to feed and make sure all of Africa was in, living prosperously. Is that a word? Okay. And he made housing a human right. Everyone gets a house. He paid for any car you wanted. He paid for half of it. All education, higher education was free. All healthcare was free. If they couldn't do it there, he'd fly you to another country to get it done. When you got married, they gave you money for a house, $50,000 or whatever it was. Greatest leader of all time. When he finished it, Hillary Clinton and Obama and the rest of the UN blew it up with depleted uranium bombs. The greatest aquifer project of all time, called the Great Man-Made River. And you were never taught about it. You were never shown anything about it. On the app, in the video search in Muammar Gaddafi or Great Man-Made River. And I made a short video. There's 2 videos on him that I made, are amazing. I remember I was trying to go somewhere I had to get on I-95, and the highway entrance is blocked. The cops are there. Like, what's going on? I'm like, president's coming through. Obama's coming through. Right. And so I went down to the next exit, can't get on there. They're blocking off all the exits. And when he came through, there was 15 decoy cars. Okay. And so you don't know which one he's in. Right. I'm standing there talking to the cop, and then when I went by, boom, everything goes back to normal. In Libya at the same time, Gaddafi drives down the street, standing up out of his sunroof, waving to people, walks along the car, shaking people's hands, hugging people. Right? Who's the terrorist?
Wow.
Okay. Everything is
Gaddafi
flip-flopped.
the one that famous Hillary Clinton video where
we found him, we killed him. They
she's
killed
like
him.
Laughing. He died.
Greatest leader of all time.
Psychopath.
Now people think they killed him because he was wanted to trade oil for the gold dinar, which he did, but he was feeding all of Africa, and he was bringing organic farms up everywhere. Watch the Great Memory River. You can't watch it without crying.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he tapped into some primary water.
Primary water.
Wow.
Greatest leader of all time. And then I made a T-shirt. I have a great outline cut out of him, and I put it out there, and the T-shirt maker said, we can't make that because we can't honor terrorists. I'm like, what?
Oh my God, dude.
So I had to name it something else. I had to come up with a creative name. I said, I forget. I worked my way around it, but it's one of my favorite T-shirts.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we've all been led to believe that the moon is a solid rock, therefore somewhere we can go. And people have refuted that perhaps it's a luminary. One thing that's really weird about the moon to me, and sort of instantly debunks the idea that it's reflecting sunlight and that's how it illuminates, is that at night, from what I hear, I haven't tested it, that the shade in the moonlight is warmer than the light under the moon, which makes no sense. It should be warmer because it's reflecting some of the sun's photons.
Yeah. So so there's a lot of people that do that test and they do it wrong. They put a piece of cardboard over the ground, and then they take the shade shot and it's warmer, they're insulating the ground. They're getting a false positive.
Okay.
But if you do it correctly, there's like a 6 to 10 degree difference.
What?
Yeah, in the direct moonlight.
That makes no sense.
It's a cold light. So the debunkers, there's no such thing as cold light. Literally, not a Flat Earth channel, Cody's Science Lab, a guy on YouTube that does these science stuff. He came out and showed a cold laser. Basically, you shoot a laser at something and it freezes. Okay,
Right.
So yes, there is cold light, and it comes from the moon. But the light.
If the light was if the reason that it's illuminated is because it's reflecting the sun, then that would make that moonlight warmer than the shade at night.
It should. It should. Right. But also, the moonlight, you can read a book by it. It casts your shadow on the ground. Right. So if you look at this cement ball at noon, is that shedding light that I could possibly read by if it was dark outside? If I isolated,
it's like absorbing light.
It's just light that's bouncing off of it. Like, it's not casting a shadow in there. But look at the moon. The moon is a light. Right. Go out when there's a moon, a full moon or close to full moon, and there's some spotty clouds. You'll see that the moon is lighting up the clouds that are right next to it. Wait a minute, Dave. Are you saying that the moon's just above the clouds? I'm saying that the moon that we see from the ground is above the clouds. You go up as high as the clouds in an airplane, the moon's going to move. If you see it in an apparent position as you move. Remember as a kid, you said, "Hey, Mom, the moon's following us in the car." Yeah. And Mom said, "No, he's not. Don't be stupid." It was following you. It was. I do an experiment where I divided my studio in half with a blue sheet. I hung a blue sheet across the room. And then on the 10 feet on the other side, I had a bright light. It was actually a square light, flashlight, shining at the blue sheet. And the whole blue sheet lights up, but there's a spot where I could see a round light. It looks just like the sun or the moon. It's pretty amazing. And so my wife, Paige, is to the left of me, about 5 feet. And I said, "Where do you see that sun?" And she points to the sheet over there while I'm pointing to it over here. So we're both seeing the same thing at the same time. And if I walk over, my light will go and merge right into her light because you're seeing it in an apparent position. That's how we see the sun and the moon. We see it in our dome of vision. I call it our personal atmospheric dome of vision. In the app, under the eclipses section on the frequently asked page, I got a couple of videos there. One of them's called Our Projected Sun. Watch that and tell me your jaw doesn't drop out of your face.
So I know some of you might think the life of a podcaster is easy, but even I can get stressed out with work, travel, staying on top of my personal life, and just coping with this ever wacky world of ours. That's why I want to share with you one of the best ways I've found to relax and reduce stress in my life, using the BondCharge infrared sauna blanket. BondCharge is an awesome company. They've got a huge range of wellness products that help you perform better, recover faster, reduce inflammation. The list is practically endless. And one of my favorite BondCharge products is their infrared sauna blanket, man. It's the fastest, simplest way I've found to de-stress after getting off a plane, recovering from a workout, or finishing a marathon recording session like I often do. And here's a great travel hack for you. If I'm heading out of town, the blanket is super portable. I can just roll it up, throw it in the trunk, and boom, I've got an easy way to mellow out when I get to my destination. It sets up in less than a minute and heats up super fast. Now, lucky for you right now, they are offering listeners 15% off your purchase of this phenomenal product. Just punch in bondcharge.com/lifestylist and use the code lifestylist to get your discount. That's BONCHARGE.com/lifestylist. And for you EMF mitigators out there, don't worry, I got you covered. They've tested their blanket against other leading brands, and their EMF levels are one of the lowest on the market. You can find all those details and more at bondcharge.com/lifestylist. And don't forget to use that code lifestylist to get your 15% off. Speaking of the sun, and I this talking about something like this really requires visuals to really get the point. So I'm glad you have like backup here. So people that are curious or people that are like, these guys are fucking nuts, they can actually go look. Because some of the stuff to me that got me interested in it was the video content where I'm like, hold up. I can't explain this, therefore I'm curious, I want to learn more. Yeah. But one thing in that regard is we're told the sun is 93 million miles away. that just doesn't make sense to me on an intuitive level. It really just seems like it's right there.
It is
And
right
when
there.
and when you look at like you were talking about earlier, how the sun's rays come down through clouds. If it was as big as they say it is and as far as they say it is, then all of that light coming down from the sun when it comes through the clouds would be coming straight down like in pillars.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be diagonal. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, it makes no sense to me. It can't be that big or that far away.
100%.
Whether or not the surface of the earth is curved or flat, even apart from that particular point, the size and distance of the moon in the official story, it does not hold water to me.
So the top picture would be what we should see with a distant
exactly.
sun. And the bottom picture is what we do see.
Right.
Okay. Reality is weird because it doesn't match the stupid helio-nonsensical BS model.
Right.
Right. We don't see that. This is what we see. Crepuscular rays.
Those are the rays that come in at an angle.
Yeah, crepuscular rays come in at an angle, right? All the pictures of the sun are crepuscular rays. Right? All of this is I just typed in core and those show right up on the app. So all of this stuff is at your fingertips. Here's the thing. If you have never heard of flat earth and you're listening to this podcast and you walk away and say, I think the earth is flat, or I know the earth is flat, you're not doing yourself a favor. You need to verify everything I say. Don't believe anything either of us say if it's something that goes against what you already believe. You have to look at it. Now, honestly, I'm going to give you enough information where you can go, holy crap, we've been lied to. It's not a ball. But go and verify yourself. That's what I did.
That's what I'm trying to do here today.
The thing that got me was boats over the horizon. I live on the water, and boats go over the horizon. Bill Nye showed us the boats going over a physical horizon.
Oh God.
Okay. Well, it's a famous thing that he shows.
He's not a scientist.
If
He's
the
an
Earth
actor.
was a ball, boats would go over the horizon. But that doesn't mean that's why they go over the horizon. They go into the horizon. Right? They get smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, this is real. I'm not going to get too deep into this because it's much easier to see visually. But if you go to the water, like I live on Long Island Sound, and about less than a mile off of the beach that I'm standing at is another island. And then straight past that is New York City, 25 more miles away. But if I look at my depth of field, that island, so if this is New York City, this end of the iPad is New York City. Am I going that way? I'm going this way. New York City here, and I'm standing here. I see that island here. So this is 1 mile. And then from here to here in my depth of field is 24 more miles. Because it's the angle that you're seeing it at. You can stand in a hallway. I was just at my hotel the other day. It's crazy, like 24/7. So I'm down this long hotel, and there's door section, and the section of the wall is, I don't know, 25 feet. And so I went to one end of the hallway, and I put my head against the wall, and that 25 feet took up almost my entire perception. But then there was 20 more of those that are all being squeezed into that little depth of field. So flip that sideways. You got your water. Just a little wave there will block out a city skyline. Because the city's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and a boat's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But it's really, in your depth of field, not getting any farther away as far as you can tell. It's just getting smaller now.
Interesting.
And the sun does the same thing. The sun goes beyond the mountains. Like if you're standing next to a mountain, 3,000 feet tall, you have to look up at it. You're like, wow, it's a tall mountain. And then you watch the sun, you're standing right next to it. The sun is at noon, 1 o'clock. It goes, you can't see it because the mountain's in the way. Now, if you went backwards a couple miles, you'd be able to see it again.
Right.
If you went backwards 25 miles, the top of that mountain would look like it's at your eye level. And when the sun just goes away, again, it goes beyond, not below. It just goes beyond.
Right.
You watch an airplane coming towards you, it's down there, it gets higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And then it gets lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. It's really flying straight and level.
Oh,
The sun does the same thing. Where
That
does
is
the
a
sun go?
trip.
Frequently asked questions on the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Where does the sun go? Watch those videos. Here's the thing. People are like, I don't want to spend $3, right? If you're going to research Flat Earth, you're going to spend 500 hours in something that you could literally find in 10 minutes in 500 hours, you're going to find very little good content. Every minute you spend researching Flat Earth on the app is going to be quality, 0 fails, 0 wasted time.
I don't know much about the Bible, admittedly, but I am aware that there are a couple passages where
Every passage. Page one. God separated the waters from the water. No, God separated the waters from the waters and created the firmament.
Yeah,
Page
the
1.
firmament. That's the word.
Page 1.
Is it really?
That's in Genesis, page 1.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Right. And there's 200 verses. Now, there's a lot of verses that people claim are Bible support flat Earth that are nonsense. Okay, there's a meme going around that all the Globers love using. We don't. Flat Earthers agree. There's a lot of garbage in there. Don't use it. Right. Page 1. That they'll say, well, Isaiah says the circle of the Earth. Therefore, the Earth is a globe. What's the definition of a circle? Definition of a circle is a line on a plane that's a flat surface where every point on that line is equidistant from a center point. That's a circle.
Oh,
We
interesting.
live in a circle.
Huh.
The sun goes in a circle.
So this firmament word is in the Bible a few times, and that's something that flat Earth folks refer to. For those that have never heard that term, how would you describe the firmament, and do we have any empirical evidence that it exists? So I see it as kind of like a Truman Show, right? Like a cap or a dome that's fitting over this flat piece of land that
The Bible
we're living
talks
on.
about it, that it's made like molten glass, that the Earth is like a seal pressed into a clay, right? Everything says flat Earth. I believe there is some sort of containment because we are in containment. I think that we're literally like, if you watch, if you put a pot of water on the stove and then you turn it up to boil and those bubbles form on the bottom, put yourself in that bubble. That's the flat Earth with the firmament over you. So there's water above you, and there's actually water below the Earth, but that's a whole nother thing. So what's holding it up? Maybe air pressure is holding it up. Maybe it's the air pressure that's holding up the firmament. When they lower the air pressure, we get flooded out. And Noah.
I also saw a video of one of these rockets where there was a camera attached to it, and you're seeing the ground disappear underneath it and all the smoke, and then it's like going up, and then it goes clunk. It
goes
stuck.
kerplunk into like a thicker medium, like a
Yeah.
plasma.
What
That's
is
called
that?
the Go Fast rocket. It's on the app. It's got its own page.
So
right?
do you think that thing is hitting the firmament?
I think it. So we had a NASA whistleblower that was communicating with me, and he said that at 72 miles up, the air turns into a plasma, then it becomes thicker, then it becomes water, then it becomes solid.
Oh.
And he says at NASA, we have the capabilities to go up there and research it, but we're forbidden to.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, I wanted to ask him if he was forbidden by NASA employees or by overlords,
Right,
by
right.
the reptile.
Because also when you see
reptilian
these
overlord.
supposed rocket launches, they also never go straight up. If they're trying to get to space and we're in a ball, it seems to me they would just go and just keep going straight up until they're in space. But they seem to go up always at a curve, and then they hit something that looks like a speedboat going across water.
Yeah. So
And I can't get my head around what is happening there.
yeah, they all go up and then out, and they crash into the Bermuda Triangle.
No way.
They don't want people in the Bermuda Triangle because they might see something they're not supposed to see.
Oh, shit.
If
Is
someone
this why all the launches take place like in Texas and Florida?
Yeah.
They never launch from like
Well, it's for
Montana.
safety reasons because they don't want it to crash.
Oh, is that the reason?
Yeah, that's,
Oh, okay.
that's what they say. It's good story, cool story.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, I mean, they want us to believe that that's the curvature of the Earth, but that airplane leaving a chemtrail is going perfectly straight. Right? Whoops, there we go. All rockets now. There's different ways. They fake rocket launches. There's CGI rocket launches. There's mini rocket launches. There's balloon rocket launches. In the app, on the more resources page, there's a section called balloon rockets. Bring a box of tissues if you still love the globe when you watch that one. If you still love space, it's so good. There's so many good videos in there. The The space shuttle was a blimp, a helium blimp. The external rocket, the tank, is a balloon. It could be in the Macy's Day Parade, right? And it just goes up and it goes out of sight, and then they recover it. We actually have, now the story is the shuttle's connected to the external rocket. It goes up, it lets go. That thing's still going 25,000 miles an hour up, with the astronauts on it. And then the external tank falls back to Earth so fast that it deatomizes and burns up before it hits the ground.
Oh, come on. Is that really the official,
That's the official story? Check this out. The astronauts on the shuttle were filming it falling back to Earth. They're going up at 25,000 miles an hour. And they're filming something that weighs 20 tons that's falling. How long could you keep that in frame?
I don't think you could have it in frame at all. That's
not even for a microsecond.
Can you get a bullet in midair in a frame?
Oh, it's going faster than a bullet.
Oh, man.
It's going faster than a bullet, right? But they filmed it for minutes.
I don't know how I'm going to process this conversation.
So check this out. This gets worse. This gets worse.
Honestly,
so they film it, and it's not that far above the clouds. Like, when's this thing going to start burning up? And then you're watching it, and all of a sudden we see a piece of tissue paper float by, like showing what speed it's really moving at, which is not fast at all. Like a piece of tissue, like a litter that came out of a helicopter that was filming this balloon or something, right? But then I saw this weird anomaly where I'm like, what was that? And I slowed it down. I rotated the camera. I rotated the image. I cranked up the levels, and it was a weird cloaked looking quad airplane of some sort. It looked like a quadcopter or something. I call it the blimp recovery vehicle. There's no question, no doubt. Don't know what it is. It's some sort of aircraft. Proving that thing wasn't falling, proving that it's not what it was, right? End of story.
How do we explain when you see footage of astronauts in a zero gravity environment? Now, I've seen a lot of these videos where they slow it down and you see cables, You
see cables pulling on their shirt. Sometimes they're in zero G flights, zero G flight, the parabolic flight. You get about 40 seconds of weightlessness. Well, that's the ones we know about. Maybe they have ones that go much higher and you get several minutes of weightlessness, right? It's just free falling. Go higher, you free fall longer.
Because in some of the videos, you'll see the women with long hair and their hair is like standing up, and then you realize it's hairspray.
Yeah. Well, think about this. In the military, you ever see like a fighter jet pilot? Stand-up guys, in shape, smart as a whip, buzzed head, right? Look at all the astronauts. They're the dumbest people ever. Look at Dom Pettit. We lost the technology, but we don't have the technology to go back again. And he's like, "What if there's a leak?" Well, then there's a leak. I don't know. We'd probably. I mean, he's a moron. I'm actually featuring a video of him. It's so funny. There's so much. It's you hear that they're applying for astronauts. There's 4,000 applicants, and they picked Don Pettit.
Right.
Don Pettit. Right. He's. And maybe they picked him because he's so stupid. He believes I say none of the astronauts, they're all in on it except maybe Don Pettit. He might believe he went to space because somebody told him he did.
Well, back to the idea of how could this many people be in on it?
Not that many are.
The only way that makes sense to me is kind of a pyramid structure of information, right? Where you have only at the apex of the pyramid people in the know, and then there's compartmentalized bits of information going down to the broad base of the pyramid, where your average guy selling T-shirts at the NASA
he doesn't
amusement park
the people
is fully on board, and his boss and his boss and his boss are all on board too, and that at a certain level someone's going like, oh, this is all just Hollywood fakery.
We interviewed someone from the control room during the Apollo missions, and his quote, he said, "We do so many simulations that when the real thing happens, we can't even tell the difference because we've practiced that many times." Or maybe that's just another simulation and they told you it was real. Right? The simulations, they do it so many times that they're so good at it that when they do the real one, they can't tell the difference.
Huh.
Is that a brainwashed person or what?
Man.
Yeah.
What do you think about Elon Musk and fake X? You know, a lot of people now are just on this guy's nuts so hard. Like he's some
Well, he's the savior. He's saving
beacon
us
of
in
free
Twitter,
speech and this and
Yeah.
that. I'm like, that app is censored as hell
Yeah.
still. I'm shadow banned to death.
I get nothing, right?
Really?
Yeah, it's horrible.
And so, but you know, there have been some positive moves he's made too.
He's done, and some stuff goes viral there. And listen, God bless Twitter, right? God bless God bless YouTube, right? YouTube is where all the normies are. So we need to stay on YouTube and bring those people over. Elon, his story, running Tesla and PayPal and all this stuff, all lies. On my website, flatearthdave.com, scroll down to the banner that has a whole bunch of pictures of Elon Musk on it. There's a 5-minute video by Greg Reese, and it will show you that everything he's ever said is a lie. Now, I go back and forth. Is he MK Ultra or is he in on it? Back and forth. Right. I'm not sure which one. Right now, I would say he's in on it. All right.
I mean, the most insulting lie that he's perpetuated is the Tesla car floating in space. And then there was a conference where he was being interviewed and he said something like,
you can tell it's real, but it looks so fake.
Yeah, you can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
That was the Tesla.
Yeah, and I'm like, man,
how high do you need to be to see the curve of the Earth?
Trust this guy?
How high do you need to see the whole Earth? Well, I'll answer it for you.
Okay.
The International Fake Station is 250 miles up, and it could barely see the curve. It's just a minor curve. They can't see the whole Earth. You just see a little bit of the curve. Okay. And on certain different days, it's a different amount of curve. Weird. How does that happen? Right. Elon's car that saw the whole circle Earth was only 70 miles up.
Oh, man.
Okay. And that should be enough to discredit him 100%. Catching them on wires using green screens once is enough to discredit them 100%. But we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of screw ups. We have one where they were excited. They got some fresh fruit from the Russians brought up some fresh fruit and they had a lemon. They were floating it around. Oh, so they're always playing with things in the air and water in the air with all the electronics, water bubbles and stuff. Right. And the lemon went flying. He went to grab it and it went through his hand as he grabbed it. And the hand didn't even look real. The hand turned into a glitch. Total. There's so many. It's called augmented reality. They're manipulating things that aren't there. They're seeing them either in a contact lens or on another screen, and they're manipulating them in real time. Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's so much fakery. So on my channel, you can find on the app, just search Laura Nina. This is a woman from the UK who did a 10-minute rant on why it matters. And I can never match it. She says it so well. I've listened to it 50 times. And basically she's talking about, if you play on their ball field, you have to play by their rules. But she says it much better. And she has that beautiful accent too. And she's good looking. So it's a great video. And I highly recommend people watch that. And if you want to find it, if you can forget the name of it, just go to the Why the Lie section. And there's a whole bunch of videos there that'll make you cry.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really is the big question: is why the lie? What would be the motivation? And as we talked about in the beginning, the thing that makes the most sense to me is the proliferation of like widespread atheism.
Yeah,
right, is just disconnecting us from the miracle of creation,
making you feel powerless.
It's a pretty big motivator. If you want to control a group of people, then tricking them into thinking there's no God is a great way to do it, because then everyone needs a God, right? You need a source.
How do I dilute my tea? I can pour it into your pool. Then it's pretty diluted. How do you dilute God? Pour it into empty space, infinite space. Right? Take his creation and say it's infinite space of nothingness.
Wow.
And that we're insignificant because there's 100 trillion David Weisses in parallel universes, and there's 100 true, the deep, they show, they said that they were doing a long distance, a deep space photo a time lapse for 14 hours or 12 hours, whatever it was, right? And they were focusing on a spot in the sky about the size of a grain of rice. And it's called the deep space photo, I think. And they came back and it was spectacular. And it showed like 5,000 galaxies just in that little point of space, right? And each one of those galaxies, has 100 billion stars, and each one of those has dozens and dozens of planets and everything. And then there's the rest of the universe, right? And it all came from nothing when nothing exploded, right? And in reality, those are just Photoshop drawings. So see this picture here? Did I make that, or did the James Webb Telescope take that?
James Webb.
Did I make that, or did James Webb take that?
I mean, I know the answer, I think, but
Did I make that, or James Webb take that? Right? Did I make that? The reason I'm asking you is because I forget which ones I made. I think I made that one.
really?
Yeah. Right? I think that's a James Webb one.
I mean, I've seen people take these images of supposed space and drag them into Photoshop, and you can see the layering that it's been photoshopped, right? Like a picture of the globe Earth, and then they zoom in and play with the colors and stuff, and you see it's a composite image. It's not
just a go on Google Earth and zoom out, and it's real pictures. It's all stitched together. Go up, and you get about like 200 miles or something, or not even that far. It turns into a cartoon. And everything's a cartoon from there on. A lot of people say, if the Earth is flat, how did the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor? Right? Because the Pearl Harbor, Japanese, it's all, look on a flat Earth map. It's right there. It's right there.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's Japan. It's perfect.
Whoa.
It's a short flight.
Oh my God, dude. This is going to be a tough one for me to process. I get my mind blown a lot on this podcast.
Here's what I recommend people do is get my app and watch the every day there's a featured video. Just watch that video. And then after that video is done, YouTube's not going to suggest a video. I suggest a video. So another video is going to come up after that. And so watch a couple of those, then go on with your day. And what it'll do is it'll wake your mind up, and you'll start seeing things, and you'll start thinking, and then go watch another one. And then go into the history and randomly pick one, and go to the different, there's so many resources in here. You can never get through them all, but you don't need to go through them all. You just need to let the universe, for lack of a better word, one verse, right? God created the world with a verse, with a word, a universe. And just start watching them, and it'll change your life. Why does it matter? I still have to go to work on Monday. I don't have to go to work on Monday, right? How did that happen? Did I plan that? No, I let the universe deliver this to me, right? And now I will honestly admit, I only work 18 hours a day because in the 8 hours that I'm not working, I'm thinking about it. Okay?
Do you have a day job at this point?
No.
This is what you do.
7 days a week.
You just educate and
I actually do this
people.
8 days a week.
Right.
And I discovered something from my research when I'm watching videos, a lot of it's videos and stuff. Double speed. You know about double speed, right?
Mm-mm.
You can go to YouTube, you can speed things up.
Oh, really?
You can watch at double speed. That means you can watch twice as many things in one day.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
And at first, it started at 1.25, then you'll get used to it and then go 1.5. Now, when I listen to stuff at like 1.5, the person sounds retarded. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, he's at 1.5.
I do speed up podcasts sometimes, and
Yeah.
then I find, just because I want the information, especially when I'm studying someone, to have them on the show, but I find it's a little hard on the nervous system.
Sometimes it is, but sometimes
Yeah.
you can speed it up a little bit. You get used to it. And I also, we have lots of time. This is as slow as I speak. Normally, I realize we only have an hour, and I just rattle stuff off. And a lot of people have a hard time with it. So I do like a slower pace.
Yeah.
With Roseanne, I was really slow.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
How was Roseanne Barr today?
She was fantastic. She really listened and had great comments. And when I would make a comment, like she brought up the hiding God before I even got to it. And I was like, exactly. And everything I brought up I said, belief is the lazy man's knowing. And she's like, I've always said that. She's like, we're right. It's like, we're like pals. And then she's like, can I have your phone number? I want to text you some stuff,
That's amazing.
And I'm just like, let me think about it.
I love it when Hollywood people defect and like leave the reservation. And
She's done that a long time. She's done that for a long time.
But this, having you on is going pretty rogue. You know what I mean?
She already invited me back. So
epic.
Yeah. She wants to trigger people. And, the thing is, as I say, if you're triggered, come take my Bitcoins, and then you could be untriggered
and be rich.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Well, I can't tell you how this has been eye-opening to me, to say the least. Super fun. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Yeah, we've barely scratched the surface.
I know there's so much to this.
In the app, you can go to the NASA nonsense page. You can go to the documentaries page. You can just frequently ask questions. Everything's in there. Antarctica. What about circumnavigation? Circumnavigation is one of the easiest ones. Circumnavigation proves flat Earth. Billions of people have circumnavigated east and west. 0 have circumnavigated south.
Really?
0.
What?
0. On a globe, if you went around the equator, that's east or west, right?
Yeah.
If you went from the equator to the south, no one's ever gone from the south and back up.
What is their excuse for that?
It's too dangerous.
Why is it more dangerous to go that way? Too cold?
It's too cold is what they say. But we can go to space where it's even colder. Okay.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. We can go to space where it's even colder and where it's a vacuum, and the people can wear their cool snowboarding spacesuits, and it doesn't blow up like the Michelin Man.
Right.
But you know that NASA has only put a man in a vacuum chamber in a spacesuit once, and they didn't even get all the air out before he passed out and almost died?
Really?
Yeah, because his tongue started boiling.
Wow.
It's crazy.
that is another thing that's been suspect to me, is the idea of the vacuum of space and these space suits. And then sometimes you'll see, they have zippers and stuff.
Zippers.
Zippers. Like zippers aren't even airtight,
What if the Earth was set up like this? So here we are, here is South America, US, right? And that's Antarctica, but there's more land out there. Right? And so we can take it one step farther. This is called the Nos Confunden map, right? So what if we lived in the center of this pond here? You have a ring, and then you have another ring, and then there's these other ponds occupying a piece of the plane,
right? Or
a planette. A planette.
I've seen that model, and one thing that I've always wondered about in terms of the firmament is like, okay, if there are these other worlds or other lands outside of the circle of the Arctic Circle, then is the firmament covering all of that, or do we each have our own little firmament on each little island outside?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, maybe. Who knows?
Right.
Maybe there's a mega superdome, and then each one has its own energetic dome.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense to me, because we have our toroidal field, and maybe on the outside of the toroidal field, it's frozen. Right. And so maybe there's the superdome up there. I don't know, but there's lots of books about it. There's one called The Navigator Across the Ice Wall, or The Iron Republic. I highly recommend people watch that or listen to that. You can read it, or there's on the app, you can just search for it, and there's an audio version of it for free. Listen to that stuff. And they're talking about more land in the 1800s, early 1900s.
Wow.
They're talking about more land. Everything you've been told about flat Earth is the opposite.
If the powers that be maintain their control by superimposing the belief that we have limited resources, right? There's limited water, there's limited oil for fuel, there's limited food, and therefore if there's limitations on the supply, then therefore they can charge more for it, right? It's like supply and demand kind of thing. And so if there are other lands outside of that ice wall and there are more resources, then things are even more abundant than we know they are, right? Because we know the Earth is just more abundant than the human population could never consume all the Earth has to offer, but there might even be more outside of that.
There may have been trillions and trillions of people scattered to these outer lands, and they may have repopulated us after the reset. There's so much to learn. Life is so fascinating, and this place is way more than they told us. Once you understand that, you literally it repowers you. It takes you get your power back, and they're hiding free energy. That's the biggest thing. Think about this. Imagine if you had a device the size of a roll of quarters that would air condition your house, heat your house, and power your car for 100 years, and you never needed to replenish it. Would that free up a little bit?
Right.
And the amount of electricity you have as much as you want, so you can do whatever you want with it. You can create things, and having all of this free energy.
You could mine a lot of Bitcoin.
You could do everything. You could do whatever. Right? It would probably crash Bitcoin's price.
Yeah, right.
But they're hiding that because that's how they control us. Tesla at the World's Fairs was lighting them up wirelessly. He had his tower in Long Island, New York. And JP Morgan said to him, he says, how do we bill for this? He's like, you can't. It's free energy. You can transmit it worldwide. Well, JP Morgan goes, well, let me think about that. I own telegraph pole companies. I own wire companies that transmit electricity. I own coal mines and train rails that distribute that coal. I own oil companies. Yeah, this isn't good. I need to shut you down. And they shut them down.
Right.
And so now we pay for dirty electricity.
Right.
When there was all free electricity everywhere.
Yeah. Now we live in homes full of 60 hertz. That's killing everyone slowly.
Yeah.
Frying us like frogs, boiling the frog.
Yep.
Man, wow. Well, thank you so much for coming by today. I've got one last question for you. Who have been 3 teachers or teachings that have influenced your life and your work in general that you'd like to share with us?
3 teachings. I would say early on, it would be Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now.
Oh, yeah.
So I was actually reading that. I was going through a divorce. I went to the first outing party by myself, and I met a girl who was going through a divorce who was reading The Power of Now. We've been together for 17 years.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's epic.
Yeah.
How cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that book was really impactful for me too.
That was one. Another one is the Ra books, the Teachings of Ra.
Oh, I don't know that one.
You don't know the Teachings of Ra? Oh, there you go. Aaron Abke teaches a lot about it.
Yeah, he's a buddy of mine. Yeah,
He's a total globe head. Okay,
really?
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, there's no getting through to him.
That's funny.
Give up. Okay,
funny.
but that's okay.
Ryan, that you met on the way out, is staying with Aaron down the street.
I was going to ask if it was Abke. Is that really him?
Yeah.
Okay, so Aaron, he's a globie, and I don't think he'll ever change. But it doesn't mean we don't love him. It doesn't mean he's not right about some other things.
Sure.
So he's big into the Teachings of Ra. I actually have it in the app in the homeschool section. Really, really good stuff. And another one I would have to say is Roseanne Barr. In 2012, I tell you this at the beginning?
No.
2012, I was at the Gathering of the Vibes music festival in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I was walking around with chemtrail signs, screaming at people that they're spraying the skies before it was cool to do that. And later that evening, all of a sudden, Roseanne Barr's on stage. I didn't even know she was there. And she said she's running for president. I'm like, okay, that's funny. And she goes, because all of those politicians are pedophiles. And then she went off the rails and just screaming about just how depraved this world is. And she held back nothing. And I go, maybe I shouldn't be so afraid to speak my mind. And I started speaking my mind from that day forward.
Wow.
And today I interviewed with her.
That's epic, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, there's really something to that. And like I said, this topic was one I'm like, wow, am I really ready to go into this? But I find that there's kind of a positive contagion, right? When someone has the courage like you to just go, hey, like, I know I'm a contrarian here about something really big that's going to freak a lot of people out, and you're willing to do it. There's going to be people that listen to this that have had their suspicions about the nature of our reality that are now going to go to work and go, you know what? I found this app because I heard this guy on a podcast. It's really interesting. You should check it out.
Yeah.
And they're going to have the courage to be that weirdo because we're being the weirdos here and we don't really mind that people see us that way. You know, there's like a courageous contagion that takes place.
Did you set up your referral code on the app? Do you have the referral
No,
code?
I don't. No.
Well,
I'll figure one out by the time this goes out. We'll put the show notes again, you guys, at lukestory.com.
in the show notes, when you download the app, one of the first things it asks you is, do you have a referral code?
Oh, cool.
And they gain nothing other than you would get a point and 1,000 dome. Okay,
I want 1,000 dome.
And you know, who knows? My podcast co-host Matt Long, who comes from the biblical side of flat Earth.
Oh yeah, I met him when we
met him
went
the other
to
night.
taco night.
We joke around. Now, I make no financial claims about Dome. Right, worst case scenario is it teaches you how to use crypto, and you can get some benefits on the app. You know, and with some other flat earthers. But we said one day, you know, maybe a few years in the future, we look at each other and go, did we really give out $10,000 per referral?
right, totally.
Right?
I mean, dude, when I bought my one Bitcoin, it was at $7,400, which seemed like a huge risk at that time. This is just a couple of years
10
ago.
times your money almost, right?
Yeah. And now, of course, I'm like, God damn it! Why didn't I listen to my crypto buddies who were like, "You only bought one, dude. Sell your house. You know, put everything you've got into it."
I got a better one than that. My son comes to me and goes, "Hey, Dad, can I use the computer to mine Bitcoin?" I'm like, what the hell's Bitcoin? This was way back, right? 2011, maybe, whatever, when Bitcoin started. And he explained it to me, and I'm like, digital currency? I don't know. I think that's bad. And he goes, no, let me show you. And I go, look, it was $3 just a couple weeks ago. It's $7 now. You missed it.
Oh, man, dude.
And I bought zero at that point.
Isn't that crazy? You bought some after that, though, I assume. Yeah, it's cool, man. It's exciting.
It's fun.
I don't know a lot about that, but I do like anything that's not fiat currency.
I do a lot of my stuff. Like I have a Web3 server that backs up all my videos, and I host and pay for that service with crypto.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool. Do you think that there's any chance that the system will be able to put this particular genie back in the bottle, or do you think it's too late?
No, there's no chance. It's way too late. There's too many people, and no one. This is a topic that people just can't drop. Like, this is the highest retention level of anything. This affects you every day. You know, you wake up someone to 9/11. You know that I live right near New York City, so it stuck around for a while. But I had some business in Ohio a couple months later. And I went out there and everyone pretty much forgot about it already, just in Ohio, let alone Saudi Arabia or, you know, Africa or whatever. So, but this one, when you wake up to it, affects you every day, all night. And people, when you find out about it, it's your soul finally goes, yes, you get it now. I think depression comes from when your soul can't speak to your mind because your mind is too lost in the programming. And your soul knows the truth of the world, and your mind is lost in the lies, tell lie vision, right? And I've seen people, when they discover flat Earth, come out of depression, come out of drug abuse, come out of alcoholism.
Really?
Yeah, because
Wow.
they literally, you know, they're not depressed anymore. Your soul gets depressed when it can't communicate with you.
Right.
And some people are so lost that they don't hear their soul, and that's when they get possessed. You know, they literally give up, and demonic possession takes over. You know, flat Earth has cured that.
It makes sense because coherence
Yeah.
brings peace, right? And if there's a discrepancy between what our higher knowing understands and then the mind is unable to rationally get on board with the inner knowing, there's going to be a discord there. There's going to be a conflict there that will be sub-perceptual.
Teaching a child about the heliocentric system is child abuse. You're literally ripping their common sense out of their mind, telling them they can't trust their eyes and their God-given senses, that they're not stationary, that they're spinning and whirling and twirling, right? The sun is not moving. We're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound, right? It's all craziness. And once you do that to a kid, their psyche is broken, and you can train them to believe anything.
Right. It's
then
like
you put them in the
it's like
prison
if you
camp.
teach a kid about Santa Claus and then you never tell them, oh, hey, you know, you're old enough now, we're going to let you in. Santa Claus isn't real.
So you lie to them about that. You lie to them. You teach them about the earth, right? You're lies are just horrible. I told you in the beginning, I would tell people that I went to medical school, and then later in the show, I'd use that as an example. That hurt me to say that. It hurt my soul to say that because it wasn't true.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
Even though I was just making an example, all right, and I'm admitting it. It just that time that lie was living in me, right? Even though it was just for an example, it hurt. That's why I don't do it anymore. It was really good too.
Speaking to your inner knowing and intuition, I had an interesting experience maybe 2 years ago, and I didn't really know that much about the topic we're talking about, but I was aware that there was a group of people like you that thought the Earth was flat and that the cosmos is spinning around us. So I understood it conceptually, but didn't really give it a lot of thought, and just it wasn't something I was really focused on. And one evening, and this is going to take away some credence from what I'm about to say to many people, but I was in an ayahuasca ceremony, and I walked outside to get some fresh air, as you do. I looked up and I went, holy shit, the cosmos is spinning around us in a big circle.
No doubt.
And once I saw that, you could torture me to death. There is no way I will not know what I saw. It's irreversible. And one could say you were on drugs, you were hallucinating.
We're spinning. So we're spinning with our axis pointing at Polaris. And that's why Polaris stays still and all the other stars appear to be turning, because we're spinning, right? Right. Other planets' axis is pointing in all different directions. They're not pointing towards Polaris. So Polaris isn't special other than it is to us because our axis is pointing towards it. Heliocentric nonsense, right? All of the stars, the sun, the moon, comets, and all of the other planets circle Polaris. Aren't we supposed to be going around the sun?
Oh, man.
They all circle Polaris.
Huh.
The sun, equidistant around Polaris. Other planets around Polaris, right? And because we're here in, some of them forward and behind, that's why we see all this retrograde motion and stuff, right? They all circle Polaris. It breaks people's minds. We weren't taught to think. We were taught to memorize.
Wow. What about this is the last thing. I keep thinking
There's
about
no
the
last
things.
question.
The Georgia Guidestones.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Where, there was like
there was a clock, yeah.
Yeah, a viewing place where you could look through and
you look
see.
through a little hole and there's Polaris, right? So
Polaris is always visible through that hole,
always.
Even though supposedly.
It's a little tiny hole. It's right there, right in the center of the hole. And we went down, we looked at it, we did time lapses.
Did you really?
Other flat earthers.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
before they blew it up?
So check this out.
For which there was never an investigation, no hoopla, no media coverage.
The Great Pyramid of Giza has a shaft like that. It points towards Polaris. We're like, wait a minute, if the Earth is wobbling, every 76 years, moving 1 degree, in the 26,000 year cycle, 2,000 years ago, wouldn't be pointing towards Polaris. And I'm like, oh yeah, it was pointing towards the North Star of Thuban back then. Oh, really? And we just happen to live in a time where it's pointing towards another North Star? Yeah, that's their argument, right? So the 1981, the Georgia Guidestones were built and that hole was lined up with Polaris. Well, it was over 40 years. It moves, if the Earth is wobbling, it's moving 1 degree every 76 years. So 40 years is over a half of a degree. 1 degree in the sky is 3 moons side by side, 3 full moons side by side. So it's 1.5 moons. That would have moved Polaris way out of that hole. We pointed that out in a video. It started going viral on TikTok and Twitter and everywhere. And then, ba-boom, terrorists blew it up. 3 hours later, bulldozers were there, took the whole thing down, no investigation, as you just said. And now our absolute proof has been removed.
Wow, dude. So that blowing up of the Guidestones happened after that video went viral?
Yep.
Holy shit. Talk about a smoking gun. Dude.
Yeah. And no one's talking about it. No one cares. No one's talking about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is endless. We've barely scratched the surface here. And I just encourage people to look. You will never get tired of my app. I guarantee it. We're adding new stuff. I have the dating or the matchmaker module on there. You can find other single people. The meetup maker, the friend finder. You can find all the people around you. You can message them. You can have meetups. You can do all sorts of stuff. there's chat groups. It's like Telegram. You just create a group, and there's people like the Flat Earth Social in the UK.
Well, man, thank you so much, dude. Great to meet you. It's
Thanks.
funny you met my wife, Allison. Because when I first found your stuff, I mentioned you to Allison. She's like, that guy, I met him in New York. We did a podcast
we did a podcast together.
Yeah.
And I walked in here today, and I'm like, I know this girl. And then she reminded me. I'm like, oh, wow,
Small world.
small level plane.
Yeah. Here we are again. Yeah, it's funny now. Another thing I thought about too is like this idea of globalism and the globalists, speaking of Alex Jones, the globalist.
Yes.
It's funny when you think about this concept and the heliocentric model that they are globalists too, right? They're like perpetuating a globe idea, which seems to be flawed based on this conversation and the research that you've done and many others have done. But it's interesting that they're all about everything has the word globe in it.
Everything. Globes everywhere.
Yeah, it's
and
weird.
next time you're walking through a store and you see some globes on the shelf, pick it up and look at the sticker on the bottom or the tag on the side. It says, for decoration purposes only.
No way.
It absolutely does. It says,
Oh, come on.
they all say it, every
Really?
single globe that they sell, because if they don't and somebody uses it to navigate across an ocean and dies because
There's
it's not
like a liability.
Yeah,
thing?
it's a liability
Really?
thing. Yeah. It says not for scientific use, for decorative purposes only. Every globe says that.
Wow. You have one son?
I have a son and a daughter.
You do? What do they think of your work and your perspective?
They're starting to get it because their friends are coming around.
Of course, they're not going to listen to dad.
Their friends
Yeah.
are coming around, right? And they get it. My daughter, she works at a big sports bar in the Upper West Side, and she rocks a little bit, because people will say things, and she'll give them one of my cards and stuff. And because she wore like one of my hats that said, "Are you a blue dot?" Right, because those are the people on the friend finder, and people ask, she gives them a card. So she's on board.
Oh,
She just
cool.
wants to live her life and go to her fish concerts.
Sure. Cool, man. All right. Well, thanks for coming by, dude. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.